Hello, everybody. This is the Rough Craft. Thanks for coming in, checking out the show today. If you're already here, yeah, we already got a few viewers. So thank you, everybody. This is the Rough Craft, the show dedicated to creating news stories while enjoying a nice, tasty beer. I'm your host, Tom, and with me, as always, is my best friend and co-host, Matt.
Emma, your best friend.
Oh, shit. I don't know, man. And we got a
Emma,
new guest.
We're gonna hash this out right now.
We got a new guest tonight. Matt was getting pretty chummy with him earlier, so maybe he won't be my best friend after this. But tonight's episode is super special. We have probably one of the most. I mean, we've had really great guests before. Nothing bad against him, but we got somebody that's what? How do you say he's being traditionally published? He's in the process of it. We'll talk more with him about it later. But we're super excited because
for us too.
a lot of the people that the whole thing around the show is a lot of people that we know has questions about being traditionally published. So we're super excited to get him on here. There's a link to his website down in the description.
I have questions.
Go over there, check out his social media. But today we'll be playing Take Your Shot. So yeah, without further ado, I'm only going to say his first name because I haven't actually asked him how to pronounce his last name right. But say hello to our guest, Neal. Last name starts with an R. How do you pronounce that last name?
So it's Romriell is the proper way to pronounce it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I should have.
It's a lot easier than it looks.
That's that's what I was telling you. There's always something. That was that one last thing I meant to do was ask you how to pronounce your last name.
All good.
But how are you doing today, man? We're super glad you're here.
Doing good, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I've been watching your show for a while now, ever since I met Matt on the our little writers group on Discord, and
A writer's accord. Get it right.
Writers accord.
That's actually, that kind of brings up a good time to go ahead and plug that. I don't know if Logan's trying to get more people into it, but
right now I don't know if he wants me talking about this. Right now, especially, he's kind of taking a break, a hiatus.
Okay.
I don't know how serious it is or anything like that. But he's kind of stepped back for a little bit with the whole Discord itself, and he's thinking about maybe reimagine. I'm not sure. He hasn't said one way or another.
With doing this show and you dealing with me, I'm constantly thinking the same sort of way. I want to change things, but then it's you don't want to at the same time. But yeah, he's I see him on there all the time. He's the only reason I ever noticed that thing because I don't write as much as I should. But I thought you were saying he's taking a hiatus from writing, which I think could be helpful.
He's just taking a step back. I don't know if he wants me talking about that right now.
He's gonna chill out on writing 3 books a week.
Yeah,
but I guess not.
He's taking a break from 40 books.
40 books.
Just focusing on the one.
But let me go and run the title real quick. Like I said before, we are going to be playing Take Your Shot. I don't know if I did. But yeah, we're going to be playing Take Your Shot today. Take Your Shot is the game, if you haven't seen it before, where we generate a random story prompt. We each have 5 minutes to come up with a short story. Based off that prompt, we take turns. And the idea is before you take your shot at the story, you take your shot. And before we get any further into that, let's go ahead and we can all talk about what we're actually taking a shot of today. I think each of us has something special, a little different than what normally we do. I guess not all of us. Anyways.
I got some Devil's Cut because Neal had to sell his soul to the devil to get published. So I chose that one.
Is that why you bought it?
Appropriate.
For that joke?
Yeah.
That's a good joke. I like that. I'm going to be having Patty's Irish Whiskey. It's super cheap, and I've been trying since we've been doing the show to try out different whiskeys and see which ones I like. So either I don't like whiskey or all the other ones taste worse than this one. This is the cheapest one and has less of a harsh taste, so I actually like this one best. And I was looking at their website. This one's actually for the past 4 or 5 years, it's won a gold medal in something. And one year it won a silver, but it's been a gold, and one's like a San Francisco contest, one's from over here. They're like, let's go into all the competitions. We'll get gold somewhere. What are you drinking tonight, Neal?
Well, so as alcohol is not a friend of mine, I am going to try something that I've literally never drank ever in my entire life, and that is a 1 hour energy, or 5 hour energy shot.
1 hour.
So
what is this?
I know it's what's the Cards Against Humanity card? Drinking 5 5 hour energies to get 25 continuous hours of energy. So yeah. gonna try one, and we'll see what happens.
So
Which I think
5-hour energy shot.
I think especially for somebody that's not drinking, I think that's a more than fair trade-off is to have a 5-hour energy. I don't know what that's gonna do exactly, but I think it's
might
gonna.
die of a heart attack right here in the chair, so
That's my biggest worry. But
That'll be a first with the rough craft.
we got a plug we can pull to just
eventually.
end the show and just erase it from the internet. So
you'll get a lot of viewers.
yeah, there we go. Man dies
Hey,
after
but your
5
book
hour
would
energy.
sell like hotcakes.
My posthumous awards.
Yeah, would you be able to finish it if you die? I don't know how that works.
I mean, it's been finished several times.
I know exactly what you do. You can just ghostwrite it.
Exactly. There. Oh, okay.
Oh,
there you go.
that is a great joke.
Yeah, thanks.
That should
I'm
be a
I'm the
we have to do with Sean and Pat.
I'm the funny one. Don't bring that back up on the internet. That's left out until we actually do it or don't do it. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get in.
Close enough. I can come and film you guys. Be aware of that. I can actually.
Oh, that is true.
right.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
You are down the road from us.
I
Yeah.
am. So there you go.
So, let me go ahead and I'll pull the timer up. While I'm doing that, if you guys want to, you can go ahead and determine who's going to go first. I'm going to start generating the prompt for us, and I will share that in the Discord so you guys have it handy.
Should have brought some dice. Then I could have rolled
that would
for
have
it.
worked.
Oh,
I went first last time. I manned up and went first last time. That was my first time going first.
oh, thank God, I had a pad and paper right here. I was worried. I was sitting here looking. I was like, oh no, I forgot this is a Take Your Shot episode.
Yeah.
Neal, I will go first.
Fair enough. I'll go. I'll be happy to go whenever. You guys tell me. So I'm
you
your
go.
guest.
You go.
tell me.
You go
Well,
second then.
In the famous words of the first
Logan.
person to play Take Your Shot, Logan said, "I ain't no bitch."
And he went first.
He went first, so I'm gonna go first, and then you, Neal and Tom, you can decide between yourselves.
So the traditional spot, and not in all cases, I think Pat was like, "No, I'll absolutely go last. I don't have any qualms with it." But I think the tradition seems to be is the guest usually either goes first or second, then we sandwich them if we can. Trying to think.
Wow. I didn't know it was that kind of podcast, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Let me go ahead.
It really should be after dark. But,
Yeah.
We only have so much time.
We do it when we get the time. I'll go ahead and generate the prompt, and I will share that into the.
Are you taking
Discord.
that now?
Oh, that is wretched. Oh.
He's going first.
Okay.
He
Well,
decided.
yeah.
It has been decided. He took his shot.
The rules are you take your shot and then you take your shot.
Oh,
You're
do you?
supposed to
Is
take
that
it
how that
right-
works?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I'm
well,
sorry.
I'll be happy to write. Give me a prompt because this is wretched. I'm gonna have to drink it as fast as I can.
And you're going
Okay.
first now.
So
Okay.
the story prompt is based off of 5 different I guess story points that you use. There's a main character, a secondary character,
Okay.
a setting, a situation, a theme, and a character action. I said 5. That's actually 6. And so I'll go through them each by each, and then I'll share them to you, and we can probably go over them one more time if we need to before we start. So the main character is going to be a man in his late 30s who could be quite.
I just literally hold on. Man in late there. I dropped my pen.
No. I'm gonna here. Let me go
started.
ahead. I'll go ahead and
Okay.
copy it and put it in the Discord for you.
In the Discord. Okay.
And for people who are noticing that I opened the red fridge, tonight's beer is Corona Premier because it's the premiere of Neal.
That is true.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
I like
the beer that I have, I meant to mention it, is I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Tucker. It's a Dunkelweizen. It's a German beer. It's apparently they just started brewing it, whichever brewery this is. A lot of this in German. I don't read German. Don't speak it that well either. But it's bottled in Germany. It's from Nuremberg. I think it's Tucker. We don't have a graphic up for it, so take
Carlson?
that first. No, not Tucker
Okay.
Carlson. Not
Just checking.
Tucker Carlson. So the main character is going to be a man in his late 30s who can be quite decisive. Secondary character is going to be a man in his late 20s who can be quite generous. The story begins in a museum. It's a mystery. A mysterious death occurs. It's a story about secrecy. Your character has some questions to answer. This is starting to sound like a night at the museum.
Yeah,
Or-
that's what I was thinking of. I was like,
A
all right,
little
well,
bit
my
of
main character is Ben Stiller.
This is nice. Usually, it's a lot of the times it's female characters. Like there's at least a female character every time, and this is both
Yeah.
men.
This is a
So-
misogynist movie that was
Yeah.
made by an alt-right guy, probably
Yeah.
Steven
very
Crowder.
possible. Very possible. Very
It's
possible.
gotta be
Okay.
Steven
So I'm
Crowder.
supposed to write a story based on this in 5 minutes. Wow, that is
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, there. It's the coolest
Dude,
part about
he is,
this.
He is. Look, I know we like to fuck with each other when we're drunk, but this dude he's about to rocket out of his chair.
That is right. And what I already noticed about you is you already do seem pretty high energy in general. So
I'm pretty high energy.
That may not have been the best thing for you. But whenever you're ready, if since I guess you have taken the proverbial shot, I think that's the proper terminology. Anyways, you took the shot. You get to take your shot. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll start that timer for you.
Okie dokie. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic while I'm doing this because I'll be tatting away at the keys.
Yeah,
so.
Just give us a thumbs up when you're ready.
Okie dokie.
And the timer is off. Now, one of the bad things about having the guests go first is now these people get to just listen to you and I
They don't
talk.
get the information first, but that's fine because we have something to talk about.
What do we have to
next
talk about?
Saturday?
Good, you brought it up. That's a good point. We do need to talk about that.
What's going on with that? I mean, this is really something I should have asked you before we went live.
No, you're fine. There, as we've talked about before, I do have a son on the way. Next Saturday I will be free. I do have the day off. That was the discrepancy, is whether I'd have it off or not. I do have it off, so we should be able to do it. We just got to plan a time and everything and exactly what we're going to do. But what Matt's referring to is our next stream. Next week is our last and final stream before I take a little bit of a hiatus after my son's born. And in that stream, we're going to be trying our best to raise money for some foster care Helping Hands, I think it was.
Helping Hands.
That's near Matt. I don't think Matt's been able to get in contact with him, but hopefully we can raise some money. And all we can say is, I promise you, Matt's going to give it to him.
Well, I'll be posting it on social media. I'll make videos with the rough craft and post them on here. I'll be posting, send the money to, Helping Hands. I'll have a GoFundMe link, somewhere posted on either social media.
But I do want to say that doing it for a good cause is only part of the reason why you should give us money. The other reason is because Matt's going to be eating Carolina Reapers again, like he did when he raised money.
Not only me this time.
I'm going to eat at least one. I'll go on record now because I told my wife, she's like, "Are you really going to eat one?" I was like, "I may eat one. I don't even know if I'm going to do that." I'll say now, if you're watching, honey, I'm sorry, I will eat one.
Because I'm going to donate $200 by myself for at least one. Someone's eating one.
Okay. If you donate $200, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to donate right now. Again, baby on the way.
Yeah,
don't want to be throwing too much money away. Not throwing it away. Don't want to be giving money away. But yeah, if you donate $200, I'll eat at least your $200. And we still got to figure out what the parameters are going to be. Whether it's going to be 200 of pepper, 100 of pepper. Which I'm surprised.
I was thinking it's 200 of pepper, because those things will kill you. If
you're
not careful.
Well, the thing is that worked out very well last time, because I'm worried we're not going to actually get as many people coming and checking out and donating like they did last time.
Yeah, well,
there may not be any pepper eating other than me eating that one.
Yeah. If that's the case, I'll at least if no one else donates, I'll at least donate. Another 200, and I'll eat one. So, but I'm gonna be spreading it like wildfire after tonight.
Okay.
The GoFundMe link and the show. But I was thinking 8:30 Yeah, and I was thinking 8:30 next Saturday.
Do we have any plans? What we're gonna do? We're just gonna try to bring some friends on and play some games.
We'll just bring some friends on, some past guests if they want to come on, and then but mostly like me, you, and probably Devin, if he has time. So
okay. And so what I'll do is I'll try to set it up where we have cams set up for me, you, and Devin. We can have some games set up that we can all play. Some Pummel Party. I think Pummel Party could pretty much fill up. I played one game of that, and it takes a while.
Yeah, and there's actually one guest we haven't had on the Rough Craft again since his debut, and that was Brian. I want to see if he might want to come on.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't heard from him since then, which, I mean, you're the one that's closer with him, so that could be cool. But yeah, I'd say me, you, and Devin play some games. If we can get some other people in to play some games, we can just have them in pretty much whoever's in the Discord. It could be a shit show at some point, but we have admin control.
No, it's most definitely going to be one. But it's for a good cause.
I'll try to. My goal is to make sure that we're going to be, you want something visual to look at. So we'll have the gameplay going for the most part of the stream, unless Matt or I is talking about something important. I'll switch over to their cameras. And or if Matt or I is eating a hot pepper, and then it's going to be all camera on them the whole time until.
We got to make sure we do not go out of frame when we eat. No.
Yeah.
No bending over like that. No, like moving like this.
I'm trying to think. because
I'll hold my camera up like this and just like, look, I'm not going this. All right, that's what I'm gonna do. All right, now I gotta fix my camera.
Yeah, that was funny though. I enjoyed watching you. I enjoyed it because I knew it was going to be a hassle to get your camera set back up right.
Has Neal's 5 minutes been up already?
No, we got 15 seconds now. So
15 something. Like,
we're almost there.
Godzilla's up there.
Yeah, these 5 minutes go quick, and I'm sure Neal's realizing that right now.
He's like watching the chat and just.
All right, and that is time.
That is time, Neal.
I guess I have to turn my mic back on, huh?
How was it?
Okay. Embarrassingly bad, but I'll accept it for the purposes of what we're doing here. So
gotcha. And so once we're all through with it, we'll go through and we'll all take turns reading it in the same order that we wrote them. But yeah, it's really cool. Like, just because me and Matt's done it before does not mean me and Matt's good at it. We usually lose to our guest. I'm not trying to set a standard for you or anything like that, but it's definitely interesting. And what's my favorite part about doing Take Your Shot is like when I look at the prompts, I'm always like, there's only one way you can write this story. And then every time everybody's story is totally different. And then someone like Logan goes in and he's like a poet with his words. He's just so much detail and stuff, and he's getting somewhere good. And you're like, man, I can't wait. And then he's done because he wasn't able to finish it in time. So there's a lot of technique and strategy involved in how you do this as well.
I remember listening to, I think it was Logan and Emily were on one of the Take Your Shots, and yeah, I mean, Logan just puts it down, man. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he lays it out.
Logan is definitely, he's very, I don't want to say talented, skilled is the word I'd like to use for Logan. I don't really, not that I don't believe in talent, but I think talent is something it's a skill that you hone and make. Talent is when you care about something and then you continue working at it. That's how I feel. So
beautiful words, poet.
Strong words from a bald man. Matt,
yes.
You ready to go? You're going to go next?
I am going to go next.
Okay.
I am steady like a road. You know, my 15th birthday.
Is this thing got sugar in it? Because that's probably the worst thing for me right now as far as like...
You gotta use bathroom.
Oh, yeah, there's tons of... That's probably the thing that's got me going like... I have not drank sugar in, months at this point.
Tommy
really?
killed me.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
I wish I could do that. So,
murdering me.
I posted about the show on a few different Facebook pages. I'm looking through real quick to see if there was any questions. Anybody actually asking for questions from people.
Cool.
Cool. I was hoping we can get some. I don't think we did end up actually getting any questions from anybody though. So
we're kind of a no-name podcast.
Yeah, we're getting there. And also, if anybody watching has any questions about traditional publishing, yeah. I mean, it's at the end of the day, we're having fun, and that's all this really matters. That's all that matters. That sounded so much worse, but no, we do this for fun. So anything after that is a bonus.
The Charlie Brown music. As soon as you started saying that.
But yeah, if anybody in the chat has any questions about traditional publishing, come on in, and I know somebody that can. How much do they
fuck you when they take your manuscript? That's when I'm not writing. That's when Tommy's writing.
But
how much do they chop off your dick when you publish? No, how castrated? I'll wait. That's when I guess.
I didn't actually. That usually, back when we would do the Writers' Craft, we haven't done that in a while, and I assume at some point we'll try to do one with you. We usually would kind of draft some questions beforehand, and I meant to do that with this episode, and I did not. So
all good, man.
It's going to be good. Yeah. I think that can be better, anyways.
That works. Well, who's going next?
Sorry. It's my turn. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm just kind of like procrastinating.
I will say that I said I was going to be drinking this Dunkelweizen, but I'm actually sipping on a Yingling right now. Just letting the viewers know if they're like, this guy's a fucking liar.
This guy's a phony.
The phony.
You ready yet? Or you're looking at it? You're cheating?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm ready.
He's been writing this entire time.
I've been reading it. I've been thinking
about
it.
Just writing it up here.
All right.
Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready.
Oh
I like how I'm always the one that takes shots terribly, but you know, it's not Matt.
Hey.
It looks like he took one down the wrong hole or something like that. That'll happen every now and then.
Dude, oh, okay.
You saw first and the last on this episode with me, because I'm never drinking one of those things again. Jeez, that was terrible.
You learned your lesson.
Yeah.
All right, the timer is a go one. So,
Cool.
Neal, you got any questions for me about traditional publishing?
Yeah, lots of them.
No, probably not. So, I guess that's my first question is, and I think a lot of people, how do you go about getting, finding because traditional publishing, that just means that you have a publishing house that is you already know they're going to publish your work. They're giving you money to produce it and everything like that.
Yeah. So there's definitely different levels of traditional publishing. I happen to be in the indie level, so I'm not with any of the big five or anything like that. But honestly, when I set out writing a book originally, I did not know that this was going to be the end game, if I can call it that. I kind of assumed I would just write a book, and that I'd end up self-publishing it, and we can get into the details of why I did that later, I guess. But in order to get with a publishing house, you typically have to start querying agents, is what it's called. So you send out query letters to agents or publishers. And in my case, that was the way that I actually got my contract, was by sending a query directly to my publisher initially. And so you go about that. You essentially write down a very brief, it's usually less than about 600 words total, little letter. They call it query letters. And I didn't know anything about this. When I finished writing my book, I was like, hey, woo, I wrote a book. Yeah. And I had no clue what any of this other stuff was. I had no idea what a query was. I had no idea, literary agents. I mean, I'd probably heard that term before. The closest thing I can say up to that point that I'd ever experienced is I mentioned earlier that a long time ago when I was a kid, I was in a band with my brother and a friend of ours, and we tried to approach A&R people with big record companies about our album. So we sent out demos. It's about the closest thing I can compare it to, because you basically just blindly send stuff to people and
hope something bites.
Yeah, hoping. So in the case of querying, I sent out my first 5 query letters, and they were wretched. I mean, just absolutely terrible. There is no. I apologized on Twitter actually to those agents publicly, because I was like, I'm so sorry to everybody that I queried that first weekend.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that's how even just writing in general, that's how that all works. You have to do a lot of. That's what a lot of people don't know, is a lot of failure to get to where you know how to do anything. So if you didn't mess those up, you wouldn't have eventually wrote a good one to get where you're at now. So
pretty much. So so typically speaking, to get to a traditional big 5 publisher, you first pick up that literary agent, and in other words, you query a bunch of them, and hopefully 1 or 2 of them will reply and say, hey, we would like to read more of this manuscript, because usually you only send the first maybe 10 pages. I've had agents that requested 50 pages. I've had some that only requested 3 pages. So it's really just kind of whatever their little manuscript wish list page says is what they actually want to get from you initially. And so once you've done that, once you've sent those first queries out, usually the next step is somebody will request either a partial or a full manuscript. I actually, out of my first I guess I only did 33 total queries, but out of my queries, I did 33 total by the time it was all said and done. I think I ended up getting 5 total requests, 3 fulls and 2 partials. And from there, you just kind of have to, most of it's just waiting. And a lot of times if you go on Twitter or something, go to the writing community on Twitter, you'll see a lot of people talking about how in querying, a lot of times you just get a lot of rejections. And that's initially what I got.
Yeah.
I got a lot of people, a lot of agents just sent me back, little form rejections saying, hey, this isn't the right piece for us, or this isn't something that I would be interested in championing or whatever. But also you sometimes get, and in my case, I had a request for a full that I sent to my publisher about the same time that I got a request for a full from an agent, and I sent both of them the full manuscript, and my publisher about 30 days later sent me back what is called a revise and resubmit. In other words, They'd had some people read it. They thought, yeah, there's something here, but this needs to be tightened up a little bit.
So was it almost like you kind of had an editor look at it in a way?
Nah, in this case, no. It was essentially what would be is like a high level beta reader is really what it was.
Okay, gotcha.
Somebody, a couple of their people had read through it. And a lot of times what will happen is the agents sometimes do the same thing. I know of people that have had agents request revise and resubmit. In fact, I actually had an agent from a partial that asked for me to revise and resubmit. She ultimately ended up rejecting it, but Matt's done.
Yeah. No, he looks like he's still going, but he's done.
He's not listening.
You're done.
He muted the whole thing.
You're fucking done.
He's still sitting there just like...
I can't. You're muted.
Okay, I was trying to read your lips. Am I done?
Yes.
Okay.
You said it like 15 minutes ago, dude. I mean,
he was trying to cheat. Is what he was trying to do.
No, I didn't have my headphones on because Neal was giving some interesting answers, and I couldn't focus on my story.
He's like, I really want to talk. I really want to hear this. I think it's kind of one of the interesting things. Well, actually, a couple interesting things about with everything you were saying. Number one, you write a book, like you said, you wrote a book. You're like, okay, cool, I wrote a book. That's probably that sounds like it's only half the battle. So people are already getting into writing. Writing a book in and of itself is a fucking mountain. That's why I haven't written one yet, or really even started chipping away at it.
Writing the book, writing it is the easy part.
Yeah, exactly.
Editing it and making it gold is the fucking terrible part.
So the heel just gets even higher at that point. So it's interesting, and it's not to try to scare anybody away, I guess, from writing, but it is something that I think it is good to know, because there's like I think
it's something good that new writers need to learn real quick.
But there's also
to learn that just because they've written 100,000 words, it doesn't mean that they're fucking shitting gold and walking around with a chip on their shoulder. They're fucking... Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It's just being good at it. That's
But
no, trust me, I learned that the hard way because I found I'm not good at it. So I'm just...
I would say there's also other avenues. It seems like you're taking the I guess the harder avenue with the bigger, better payoff, I guess, in the end. But like you said, we'll talk about why you didn't go self-publishing. But I've seen some works from people that did do self-publishing, and the quality just, there's issues in the quality and stuff like that. And, you don't have anybody out there to really promote your book other than somebody randomly finding it on Amazon. Self-publishing, I would self-publish a book just so I can have a physical copy of my own and to give it away to people. Self-publishing, it's like making a YouTube video and hoping somebody just finds it. Is the way I see it. And another thing that you were saying.
How well that works out for us right now.
Like with everybody, I think's journey is different. So it sounds like you started trying to get into query letters and sending it out to agents and stuff like that. I think Matt's first thing he did as soon as he finished his was hire him a pretty good editor, and that's what I was talking about earlier with the thing. So there's many ways, it sounds like, to do this, and it's kind of whatever works best for you and how you want to approach it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can't wait to listen back and listen to his answers to your questions.
Matt's gonna be fucked when he sends out query letters and then he's like, I've edited this book twice. Everything's going good. Oh, apparently we just got to follow. I need to fix those. Thanks for the subscription, MJ Grossman. That's way off to the side, so I can't even see it. But thank you for subscribing. That's cool. I don't think we've had one of those in the middle of a show before, not on YouTube at least. So it's going to be hilarious if Matt gets through with this, has it edited, everything looks good, starts sending it to agents and a publishing house, and then they start giving them their notes about how he needs to fix it. And oh man, that's gonna be.
Yeah, I can tell you all about that here in a second too.
I can't wait. I gotta. Well, I won't say a bunch, but I'm sure they're mostly what he's asked you before. But
good pop.
You just give the like on Family Feud. If I ask the same question.
Well, actually, I think we only really asked one question. I don't even remember exactly what the question was, but he just was able to. I mean, I think with this in general, like, there's no simple cut answers for anything. I mean, I guess it depends on the question, but it's a big open-ended question.
Yeah, the reality is that most people that get an agent versus getting like an indie publisher, the agents will then usually edit and do stuff with you first, and then try to put it on submission, as they call it, which is to take it to like an auction house basically and see if anybody wants to pick up that manuscript. And
if no one
I've
picks
actually,
up, all right, look,
yeah, no, it's fine.
Me
It's
and you
fine.
are going to talk about this.
Yeah, that's
Take your
fine.
shot,
That's fine.
Tommy.
Yeah.
Let's,
Well, I was gonna
let's
say
get
at
rolling.
the same time we're already like 30 minutes into it, so we can stretch and just have conversations
let's stretch
as well.
a little bit. Okay. So,
I'm not saying that just to prolong my turn, but
okay.
we have plenty of time. We're kind of
He's
going
gonna
at a
think
faster
about
pace
his
than we
story
normally do.
the whole time. No, you know
Dude,
what?
I haven't even
Go
looked
ahead
back at it.
No,
All I know is
no.
okay. That's
No,
fine
no,
with me.
no,
Hey,
no,
I'm
no
not
stretching.
arguing. Let's
No,
do
no,
it.
no. You take your shot. And you write your story. You don't get no extra time.
I don't need the.
You don't.
I don't need the time like you do, Matt, over there looking up with one eye. Am I done? Am I done? Yes, you're fucking done.
Okay, man.
It's good.
Best of luck.
Dude, whatever. I sip whiskey on a daily basis.
Yeah, it didn't fucking look like it a second
Take
ago.
shot. Dude, fucking shots.
I was sitting there
I cannot
smiling and making
stand
faces and
shooting.
stuff, trying to look cool, and then as soon as I exhaled out, oh, it hit me. It's not good.
Nice Stitch Fix shirt, asshole. All right, so let's.
Did I tell you that?
Yes.
Why you gotta
did.
bring the, I wore it the last interview. This is my new shirt. I like it, man. Fuck out of here with your monster shirt. Why don't you get a new shirt? All right, I wear the same shirt. One.
I have worn the same type of shirts every episode.
That's like the same shirt. I gotta write my story, man. Quit stretching. I swear that's the same shirt. He has like 12 shirts that says the monsters.
Write your 90 Museum Ben Stiller story. Make sure you add Bruce Willis.
Timer started.
Okie dokie, man. Good luck. Good luck. Okie dokie, Matt. What you got?
Okay, so like my main question is, what are some of the? All right, so you actually didn't go through an agent at all, right?
No, so I did not officially pick up an agent. I had, like I said, I did communicate with a few agents and was lucky enough to have some agents that actually requested my story specifically for fulls, which was cool, and partials, and they were all super awesome. I know that if you go and kind of like look on Twitter, and there's some other places you can find it, Reddit's another place, you'll see a lot of people that kind of dog agents a little bit about, and a lot of people think it's kind of like gatekeeping. And to me, the thing about it is that agents aren't necessarily looking for the quote unquote greatest written book ever. They're looking for something they feel like they can take to an auction and sell to a publisher. Whether that's a big five or an indie or whatever, they're looking for something because ultimately the agents are the ones that are trying to make some money out of this. That's how they make money, is selling manuscripts.
They're the middleman.
Right. And in my case, whereas I didn't have an actual agent, I just went, my publisher picked me up specifically from my manuscript. I split my money. I split the money that's earned from my book with my publisher. If I had an agent, I would split any upfront fee or upfront earnings that I got from my publisher that bought the book with my agent. And so at the end of the day, a lot of people say that you can make more publishing quote unquote self, or even in some cases indie, which is kind of where I feel like I'm at. I wasn't going to have a book that was going to go out there and earn $2 million for an upfront massive, big upfront deal or anything like that. A lot of writers, this is something I did a lot of research before I even started querying. A lot of writers, their upfront intake might be $25K, which, hey, I'm not squelching at $25K. I'd take
$25K a year.
No, just up front. That's like that's their whole take for selling their manuscript essentially. But these $2 million book deals and things like that, those are very rare. Most are between 25 and say 75 or 100,000 for the writer. That's then they have to split that with the agent.
Like when I was researching it, like most writers make either at or below minimum wage.
Yeah.
Depending on how book sales and stuff like that.
For the amount of time that they put into it, absolutely. I would have to make a lot of money to quote unquote earn back. I'd have to sell a ton of books to make back quote unquote my time investment. But that's one of the nice things. That's one of the nice things for me is that I'm at a point in my life where I could do this and I can still have my 9-to-5 job. It's not like I'm sitting back and going, man, I will be absolutely out on the street and my family will be eating in soup kitchens if I don't get this book, sold. I certainly wanted to do fantastic. I'm not going to make any qualms about the fact that I want this book to be super successful.
Yeah, like, I think that's where a lot of writers, especially new ones, go wrong, is they think that if they're writing, if they sell a story, and if they just sit around and write all day, they'll be fine financially.
Right.
That's not how it goes, dude. You're gonna learn pretty
typically.
quick if you're trying to live off your writing, unless you're a New York Times bestseller. You're not gonna do shit. Pardon my language, but you're not gonna make hardly any money. You're gonna make pocket change. You're gonna make beer money. That's what you're gonna make.
Well, and in truth, like I think it's kind of funny because a lot of people that I've interacted with, a lot of writers, a lot of authors that I've interacted with, a lot of them will say stuff like, and I used to say the same stuff when I was, playing music. It's like, well, I do it for the art, I do it for this, I do it for that, and for a lot of people, it's cathartic. For a lot of people, but nobody starts to try to publish or put out there into the public eye their work
once you're in the
they have some
section,
kind of reason, right? Yeah.
Once you're in the editing mode, that it's no longer a hobby. It's
right.
Something you're trying to make a living off of.
Right. You're trying to do something more with it. So
yeah.
And it's like I said, it's not writing. You mentioned writing the book is easy, and I think it is, except for me, it took me forever to do it. I had started writing books numerous times.
Well, it depends on how methodical you are with it. If you're just like throwing whatever idea you have on a Word document, it's pretty easy. And I think most new writers especially do this.
My time's up. Y'all can keep going.
Like most new writers would do that. Just any idea, like, I want a dragon, and I also want a sea monster that's also a dragon. So they just throw every idea they have in a Word document. But and then once you pass like 500 pages and you're sitting there with a lizard language that you're singing your own songs to, so
don't make fun of people that sings to their own songs, okay?
Exactly.
I don't know the language, but I know the two different versions of the song.
All right, so I mean,
translations is the right word. Two translations of a song.
Being a writer is more than just trying to write a cool story. You also try to focus and do stuff like, I don't remember where I was going.
Well, I'll say real quick, if I can interrupt in the middle of a conversation, I don't know. I think a lot of people at least for me, like I look at works like like Tolkien, who I only really half understand. And I think a lot of people look at stuff like that, especially when it comes to fantasy, and they look at what he did, and they're like, they kind of, inspiration and emulation are kind of one and the same, and they want to try to do that. That's what works. That's what makes me want to write this stuff. So I'm gonna try to do this, and they want to do the languages, they want to do the songs. What they don't understand about Tolkien is some people don't. Tolkien was a linguist by trade. Like that was like he was a professor of languages. Like he knew tons of languages. I think he said learning a new language is like enjoying a fine wine. Like that was his shit. Like he loved it. It's fucking weird. And so it makes sense. Weird in a good way. It makes sense why he's gonna.
His head, like, do you disagree?
It makes sense why he's going to have all these vast languages, like fully in depth, that he created himself, that are then going to branch off into their own histories and stories and stuff. And somebody like him, especially back then, I mean, what else are you going to do for? He's a nerd that's just wanting to come up with stories, and he's creating, these dragons and these elves and these things that we see as just commonplace in fantasy. But back then, like he was really the first, and he's reaching and plucking from mythology and plucking from other languages and just crafting it into this melting pot and making these wondrous stories. And other people come in and think, hey, I've been guilty of it as well. I come in and I'll like, this person says this and it's meant off of this and that's, but I have no backing for it. But he is able to really base his languages off stuff because he understands languages. Is what I was getting down to.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
I rant on Tolkien. Yeah, well, so number one, just to disparage, I mean, I know we're like, I don't know, 45 minutes into this or whatever.
Hey, we
You know,
got,
Yeah,
we
we
got
still
plenty of
got
time.
plenty of time. So
Yeah, I know, yeah. But just to put it right out of anybody's head right out of the gate, I am not the guy to turn to be like, hey, can you analyze this writing piece? Because at the end of the day, man, I got like a B+ in high school English.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm
Yeah.
not. I saw a great interview with Bowling for Soup's front man Jarrett. I don't remember his last name, but anyway. And he was talking about the fact that he used to play drums in like his previous bands, and he just got tired of nobody writing the songs that he wanted to listen to. So he just went and picked up a guitar and started playing guitar. And he's like, "Man, I became a songwriter because I was just learning to do it." And for me, that's kind of what it was for writing this book.
And that makes a lot of sense.
You know, I had written stuff a lot. I had written a lot of stories because I've been playing D&D. I'm sorry, that's kind of what's going on in the background here. I've been playing D&D since I was like 12. So yeah. I've been a dungeon master since I was like 20. So that's 20 something years that I've been doing that. And so I'd written thousands of stories, but I very rarely put them on paper, you know, put them down properly. And so to sit down and write, I had tried it before, and it just never really happened. And then, you know, when COVID hit, I just happened to have a lot more free time, and I had my daughters that are old enough now to kind of push me along and kind of be like, "Come on, Dad, you can do this." And so
that's what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on my son that's going to be born in about a week to come home and say, in about 20 years, be like, "Dad, look, you've been talking about writing a story. I mean, Uncle Matt's dead now. He drank himself to death. You know, he's not here to push you anymore." He's like, look at him. He wrote a story and made millions of dollars. I hope that's the case.
Boy, we'll see.
But yeah, no, that's actually.
I'll still be a design engineer for the U.S. government.
I like the point that you made about nobody was basically writing the stories you wanted to read, and I think that's a really cool. When you think about it that way, it's a cool way to kind of approach writing a story because automatically, straight out the gate, at least from your point of view, from what you've already read and seen, you're going to come out original. And I think that's one of the hardest things, especially for like people like me, and I imagine tons of other people that want to write. You're writing because you're inspired by other writings, and so you come out and you're like, like me, my favorite story is The Hobbit. And I think it's the perfect story. It's the perfect type of adventure. Has all the archetypical stuff that you want to have in a story. And I want to write a story like that. And so as I'm crafting this story in my head, there's so many times I'm realizing it's too much like that. And so you have to make things different for the sake of making them different and not because it's an original thought. And I think it's when you come into a story like you said, where you're writing a story because nobody else has that story, it's automatically going to be original. I think that's going to give you a great perspective from the start, despite the perspective we have of you right now.
My apologies. My camera just went haywire.
I didn't know if you just flipped it or what happened, but it did just say deuces.
Yeah, it was. So what was funny there? My apologies to everybody watching.
You're totally fine. They've seen way worse.
They've seen way worse. Okay.
Look, man, it's okay. I promise.
I'm not willing to do that. And I have my camera on a stand that I can easily place in exactly the same spot. Still not willing to do that.
So see, I'm not as cool as you guys.
I'll do this.
I'm not as cool as you guys, and I don't have this this fancy like cooler or anything in the background. And so I've got a little.
This is a refrigerator, my friend.
Excuse me, refrigerator. No, so I've got a little cooler by my
with
foot.
a new Godzilla toy.
What it sounds like you need to do is you need to go back and watch our first videos that we have up with actual backgrounds. You'll see me in my kitchen with the fan in the background. Fucking no lights on. I don't know why. Now I got too many lights on. You can see how bright red my head is. It's not from drinking, guys, like I know you're thinking. It's I went to the pool. I told these guys earlier. I went to the pool at my dad's house today and got some sun. So, which is funny. I actually work out I work in the sun all day like this, but you get in the fucking water and it's just it's terrible.
Right now. Oh my. Well, yeah. I mean, I've got plenty of bald up there to
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I noticed actually last time, because I lost I have hair here. I have hair all over my head. Right here, but it's just so thin you can't see it. Shut the fuck up, man. It's just so thin, and I was noticing the other day, right up here, it's thinned out there too. So I'm like, thank fucking God I decided to go ahead and start shaving my head. It's not bad. I would say, hey man, try it out. Your hair can always grow back.
I got some comments.
Grow your beard
on the show so far from Mar.
Grow your beard. Shave your head.
In the mic.
God, burping in the mic's fucking cool, man. So I don't know what the issue is there. I would say try shaving your head and growing a beard, man. It doesn't look terrible.
Things. My wife will never allow that to happen. Number one, it's funny is my facial hair used to be really red. I'm sure it's all gray now, but back in the day, I mean, it was like fire engine red when I would grow facial hair. My wife hates beards, does not like them at all. So I've long been shaved.
Yeah, there it is.
And I have pondered shaving my head for a long time, but I've got this weird like cleft in the back, and my wife has also barred me from ever shaving my head until it absolutely is just
no, my camera's perfect right now. Don't say anything, Tommy. My camera's perfect.
I will say, once you said my wife, I was like, none of this matters anymore. Exactly. As long as you got a wife and she's nobody fucking cares.
Yeah.
For the longest time,
you should be happy that I'm gaining weight because I think I'm secure with you.
I would just buzz my head for the longest time, and I started thinking about actually shaving it, and then she's like, "No, I don't want you to shave your head." Well, then I was on a deployment to Europe, and I was like, "She ain't fucking here," so I shaved it just because it's so much easier, and I started shaving my head, and I was like, I enjoyed it, I like it. She's like, it doesn't look that bad, so now I get to do it full time. I talked to her because it's getting hot. I'm a delivery driver, so I work outside doing that. This beard's getting pretty hot, so I was thinking about I told her, I was like, I might shave it off, and she was like, no, don't shave it off. So she seems to like this. I don't agree with her, but I don't have to.
Hey,
that's you're not the one who has to look at it.
That's the goal of a man. If any young guys are watching, your goal is to trick some woman.
Why do you think my hair is so long?
Is it because of her?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, she likes it.
Okay, fair enough. I watched one of our earlier videos, like from like a year or two ago. Dude, your hair was you had just had like a fresh cut, like, and then like I was like, God, his hair. We both look so different without looking that much different. Really, it's so funny how much 2 years can change. See, the weight is an anchor. I am an anchor to your love, darling. Who is XM West? Thanks for being here.
That's Logan.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I can tell by his intense breathing, heavy breathing intensifies. That's him.
Yeah. And I mean, he has a way with words, so that's definitely Logan. And then Westerlind, that's definitely the XM West.
Before we get into the source, we need to ask a little bit more questions about his.
Yeah. You go ahead. I think you're going to be the better person for questions, so I'll let you take the front of that.
When you have deadlines, right?
I do have deadlines. Yes, in fact, I do have deadlines. I'm working under one right now. In fact.
No, you're not. You're on TRC. What are you talking about?
Is one of the deadlines to be on a dead end podcast?
No, and no. So
thanks for the plug, Matt.
So what's funny is I had actually sent. So I guess going back to my story about getting the revise and resubmit from them, I got that revise and resubmit. Basically, I think it was on like the day before Halloween last year, and I'll be honest with you, the feedback I got. While there was positive feedback in there, like the negative was what stood out to me immediately, and I was like, "That's it, I'm done." Imposter syndrome just through the roof. I am never gonna write. I suck. This is terrible.
I want to have imposter syndrome. I haven't done well enough in anything to get it yet.
Real quick, you want to see something? This is literally my first draft. This is my actual first draft.
Why is it on paper?
I still have it. Oh yeah, I still have it on paper. Yeah, I kill trees repeatedly. No, So I got that revise and resubmit request from
I got a
them.
book.
Got that revise and resubmit, and I thought, it was like, I absolutely on the surface was like, okay, this is what I wanted, right? This is exactly what I'm doing this for. Is that somebody has sent me some information, some feedback, and told me these is where you need to correct yourself. This is where you need to do this and that. But at the same time, I was like, I'm just defeated. Like I've got this story. I thought it was great. And so I don't want to say hemmed and hawed, but my wife would probably say I hemmed and hawed. Probably I did worse than that. But anyway, I spent about 3 or 4 days just kind of like blah. And finally, I was like, okay, I'm going to kick myself in the butt. I'm going to do this. And so I spent basically the whole holiday season revising. And I got this new manuscript in hand, and I sent it to the person that I'd actually edited my first manuscript. I actually did kind of like Matt. I did hire an editor before I started this whole journey. But
yeah, my mistake too.
I'd say, it's all good. My editor was nice. I guess Matt's was not so nice, but anyway, so I sent it back to my editor. I got it back like a couple days before New Year's and sent it back to my. By the way, my publishing house is Sage's Tower Publishing. Go them. Shout out to anybody.
I didn't know if you wanted me to mention them because I was all for mentioning Sage Tower.
Yeah, Sage's Tower.
As soon as they saw your face, I'm like, look at the new author by Sage Tower. Raid Shadow Legends. Get 10% off now for free. I was about to go deep in it, and I was like, I forgot to ask him if it was okay.
So I sent them back the manuscript, and well, actually, so I got it back. I actually sent it back to them as a little bit after New Year's. Now that I think about it, it was a little bit after New Year's, and when I sent it back to them, I had sent it to 2 new publishing houses that had long since contacted me based on queries. And so I sent it out. I had the manuscript out to about 5 different people in January still, officially. And pretty much everybody else had rejected me. In fact, the day after I sent those 5 in January, the like 6th agent I had ever queried sent me a rejection. So that was where I was sitting at that point. And at the end of March, I get this email, and it's from Sage's Tower. Now, they had sent me, like I said, they had sent me stuff before. And when I first saw it, I was at work, and I just noticed it come through on my phone, but I didn't actually open it up. I was just like, oh, I saw something coming. I saw that I got an email, but I just assumed, okay, that was it, And because they'd had it for quite a while, and they actually said they thought it might take up to 6 months. So this was like a couple months later. I'm thinking that's it. They've had their people read it, they've reviewed it, they're done. So I got home. And I came home and I sat down at my computer, and I opened up the email, and I had to read it like twice because it says, we think, Eyes in the Dark would be a great addition to our library. And I'm going, does that mean what I think of me? So I just started yelling to my family, who probably thought I was a loon. But yeah, I'm like, bye. So that was.
Did you just mute yourself? What happened?
Did I? Am I still here?
I thought it was like you said a bunch of cuss words and then you just went mute.
I was probably just mumbling. I do that a lot.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea what he's referring to.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. But anyway, yeah. So that was exciting, but like a couple weeks. So they actually sent me a thing that here's what the contract's going to be and yada yada yada, and like a couple weeks after I'd signed the contract. So I actually signed the contract, I think on like March 30th, I think 31st, somewhere in there. I got to announce that I was part of their team on April 20th or on April 2nd. And
this is right around the time you first joined. This is
literally right around the time I joined the Writers Guild.
I was like, holy shit, he's been a member for a week.
Real quick.
He's already traditionally published.
Yeah, I remember when Matt first brought you up, and we were like, "Oh boy, here we go. We finally got somebody." No, how did you end up finding the Writers Discord?
So, so funny question there. After I had submitted those 5 queries, those kind of final 5 queries, and at that point, I had pretty much decided this was it. Like these 5 was it. I was done seeking publication in that regard, because if those 5 rejected me, I was out. I was going to just go self-publish or do something else. And so to kind of distract myself, I wrote 2 short stories, and I started a new, like a fantasy work that has nothing to do with my current work, quote unquote work in progress. And so my sister, who is actually currently querying a book of her own, turned me on to this place called Critique Match. And she's like, yeah, I put some of my stuff on Critique Match and met some people, and they helped me, with my book and helped me with some of my chapters and things like that. So I had these 2 short stories. I didn't want to go pay an editor for these 2 short stories, but I wanted to submit them for some anthologies. And so I went to Critique Match, and lo and behold, that's where I ran into Logan, was on Critique Match. And after we had traded a couple chapters with each other, he sent me a message on Critique Match. It was like, hey, I've got this writers group in Discord. Would you be interested in taking a look? And I was just, at that point, I'm kind of adrift. I'm just looking for some place to, And so that's how I came to be,
Yeah,
so I think the Writers Accord was what brought me the luck of getting my...
Yeah, there you go. I think Logan, he's a weird guy in the sense that he loves writing, but I don't think he has any interest in really being published or anything. He's probably got tons of work he could get done, right, Matt? Is that correct?
Well, he's been looking to solidify his latest story, but
he's just
he is if you ask me who's a guy who loves writing more than any, it's him.
He is a huge asset, like almost like having like a writing Swiss Army knife. Like that's the guy you want to go to and talk to. Like when it comes to actually writing, like he seems to be like when and if I ever actually write, he's gonna be the first guy I go to. He's gonna be able to give you good understanding and feedback.
Absolutely.
He's a super cool dude.
I have a sneaking suspicion one of my short stories got picked up. I haven't officially gotten word of that. It'll be at the end of this month before they officially announce the anthology participants. But I'm pretty sure, based on just some clues, that one of my other stories is actually going to be traditionally published as well. So that's pretty cool.
Shit, dude.
Well, that actually, if you don't mind me, I want to, since you brought up short stories, that's something I've thought about here recently. It was fucking at the beginning of the year. I had this goal of writing at least one short story every month, and have yet to do that. It's my stories are all in my head. I just can't figure out how to put them down somewhere. So what is the process like for short stories? Because a lot of people, I think that's another thing, which I did a little research. A lot of big name writers, that's how they started off, is they would write short stories. Those would get published. And then later they became novelists and was able to get their work published. And a lot of people, they never go back to short stories after that. But so that it's kind of like a good stepping stone into writing. So what is that process like, and what have you been able to learn as you've done it?
So one thing about writing the short stories was that it was like writing the novel, but in super like sped up fashion, like put it on fast forward times 100. Because whereas with my novel,
you can skip like the most. Yeah.
Well, whereas with my novel, I wrote this story and then I'm done with it, and I didn't know what to do. Like, and honestly, with my novel, when I do revisions and edits and things like that, it sometimes is hard to get motivated because you've already written this book, right? Like you've prepared this entire. I showed you the gigantic manuscript that I've got, and it's like I don't want to write this story 15 more times, which is what I've ended up doing anyway. With a short story, it's like that was quick. Oh man, I just cranked out 5,000 or 10K words. Okay, I want somebody else to go read this. And rather than asking them to say, hey, can you read this entire monster manuscript of 80K words or whatever, it's like, you can just take 5 minutes, right, or 20 minutes or an hour and read over this manuscript. And so the short stories was cool. Like, that was a lot of fun because all the process that it's taken me to do a novel, which is over a year and change now, I think the other day I posted on Twitter, it's been 409 days or something like that. My short story was done in 30. I mean, from literally like start to finish, like starting it, revising it, editing it with help from people on Critique Match, and then my daughter, who is an amazing, shout out to my daughter Avery, an amazing person when it comes to punctuation, grammar, spelling, all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, that's like my wife,
my wholehearted editor. Yeah.
The first, if and whenever I write somebody, whenever I write something, it's gonna go through my wife first, and she's gonna. Like the other day, I posted some stuff to a Facebook group, and usually before I post anything with the rough craft, I send it to Matt to make sure it's grammatically correct, because I'm like, he's a writer, he knows things. And then I saw from your latest one of your TikToks that's not exactly the case. And then so I always send it to I show it to my wife, and I post it, and I started like yelling at her, lovingly. I'm like, why didn't you let me? And she's like, why didn't you share that to me? I was like, I don't know. I usually do. Why didn't I? And I had just, there was so many errors in it, and I was able to edit some of them. But real quick, if you don't mind me asking, you were talking about your query letters earlier, and that's another thing. I was wanting to plug your TikTok there, because you have a TikTok about, and so you go check out Neal's TikToks. They're really funny. I've enjoyed that. Like I called my wife in here. She's like, at one point I just had your Facebook up where it had your TikToks playing, because I was like using it and I was making like the thumbnail and stuff. And she's like, are you still watching his TikToks? I was like, no, it's just kind of up now. I was like, but watch these. They're pretty funny. I was like, if you're into writing, I think these are very funny TikToks. And so like the query letter one, I wanted to ask you, was that kind of how it was like, or is that just an over exaggeration?
No, like, the strange agent send. I actually had two of them actually. So you send out the query letters, and you either go through Query Tracker, or sometimes they have to make you go through like their individual websites. no query. By the way, for those of you who are writing and already know this, no query letter is the same. You can't just like write a letter and just replace a couple of things and then just send it off 1,000 times. Every one of them you have to basically write personally to these agents.
I don't like that.
So, because you had to try to cater to that specific agent's.
Exactly.
And I want to say real quick, just if nobody has seen Neal's famous TikTok about query letters, what it is basically is he's a writer, and the joke is, it's him playing both characters. He's emailing out his TikToks he's emailing out his query letters, and then he's waiting for somebody to reply back, and then all of a sudden you get the weird, like,
shady agent.
Yeah, shady agent. He's got the glasses and the hood on, and he's like, yeah, here's a contract, and it's it's pretty good.
So I had sent out about 20 query letters, and I opened up my email because another trick if you're a querying editor or if you're a querying writer, if you haven't yet, get yourself a singular dedicated email just for querying, because you don't want it to go off every 20 minutes and think, oh, maybe that was an agent. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want that to just be free and clear and only have agents' responses in there so that you can keep track of them. And so I have this email address that is not used for anything else. It is literally only used for publishing purposes. And one day I get this email, and it's this guy who says he's an agent for a major publishing company and lists the publishing company in the whole 9 yards. Or it's not a publishing company, it's a literary agency, sorry.
Check out this blue dress.
Lists the agency in the whole 9 yards, and it's literally like, open this attachment because we are offering you a contract based on your book. And they knew the name of my book. This wasn't like they just knew my name. They knew the name of my book. Sorry if my dogs are barking and you can hear them in the background.
No, you're fine.
I don't hear them at all.
I didn't click on the actual quote unquote contract. I just sent this thing to spam, and the dude sent me that same email, essentially variations of it, about 3 more times. Each time saying, come on, we're waiting to buy your book, blah 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 blah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Was that some South Carolina fucking vanity house?
No, it was no. And what it was, I have no idea who this guy was. It wasn't a vanity publisher. It was, like I said, it was a literary agency that I looked up, and they are a legit agency. I guarantee this guy wasn't part of their agency. But it was a legit agency. So after that had happened, about 2 months later, I got another one. I got like the exact same type of thing, but from a different person. And this person said she was with a different group, and she actually said she was not with a literary agency. I forgot what they call themselves, a collective or something stupid. But she also wanted to give me a contract. I'm like,
yeah, like when I first started querying, when I was submitted in the Shattering, I started querying, and I got like 30 emails from this weird Charleston Myrtle Beach publishing house. They're like, well, we'll pick up your book, bud, don't worry about it, we'll get you.
If they want your book, you know that there's probably something wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially mine. So like I was talking to him on the phone, and he was like, yeah, you just and it was a vanity public. I because as soon as they said, you just give us 20 grand, and I was like, no.
Right.
But it was some
when they ask you for money, that's really
well, as soon as they say, you pay us this, and I'm just like, I'm not paying you shit.
I had that happen when I was very young, like maybe even before I was 20. I had a cartoon idea that I was, and I didn't know what the hell to go. I still don't even know how to properly pitch a cartoon. And I had just started like looking around like how to pitch a cartoon. Maybe had found a website that I had logged into and created an account. I remember getting an email or a phone call. I can't remember if the email came first, but I got a phone call from some person. And it just, as a young guy with just an idea, like it really threw me off. And I was like super excited. I was like, this guy was like, he read whatever it was I sent in. He'd read it, and he's asked about the characters and stuff. But he would always go back to that money that I needed to pay them. And then we can really get into the details of things.
Right.
And, even then at the, like 20 years old, you're like, I'm not this fucking stupid. But I still enjoyed, gushing about my story, which is what the Rough Craft is all about. We're here just letting people gush about their stories. That's the great thing, is we have an endless stream of content because nobody out there doesn't want to talk about their story. I want to I want to swap frames real quick. and actually play that TikTok I was talking about of yours, if you don't mind.
By
You
all
guys
means,
may not be able to hear it, but the viewers will be able to watch it, so they'll get a point of reference from what we was talking about.
Give me a shot. Give me a shout out.
I'm excited to watch this.
I'm picking up real sketch vibes.
And again, it's already over and done with. I will say, to somebody, I mean, I guess the humor's there regardless. Like, no matter who you are, you're going to be able to see the humor there. But like, especially like once you're into the writing circle, that's the people that's going to be interested in that, and they're gonna find a lot of humor out of that. And I don't know how much. Apparently, this was only 6 days ago, so I don't know how much recognition you're getting on there. So if we can help in any small way, go check out Neal. The ones that I've seen so far has actually been pretty funny. Like I just scrolled through
going
Facebook.
in the right direction.
Yeah. And it's cool because you're staying on theme and on brand and everything. And I think that's you're basically like a writer's TikToker. So it's cool.
So
There's a very good
boys, I
community
would
on
like to
Author Talk.
suggest. Oh, I'm sorry. What was you saying?
Oh, no, I just said there's a very good community on Author Talk. That's the it's Author Talk is what they call
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
Boys, I would like to suggest a quick 5-minute break, and then we reconvene and come back.
Once we come back, I think it'd be a good time because we're starting to kind of get down in.
We're only
time.
been live for an hour.
Yeah,
so
it's
we
8 minutes.
got
I mean,
another hour or so.
what I was gonna say, we still got 3 stories to read and talk about, so we might need to get into those when we get back.
I got at least one more question to ask Neal.
Okay.
After we come back.
Okay.
So after I ask that question, we can start with the stories. But I would like to suggest a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Potty break, and then.
So we'll say it's 5:40 right now. We'll be back at 5:45. Just hang out for a little bit, guys. Go get you another beer, get you another shot, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
It is 5:45, everyone. This is Matt back with the TRC, and we got an interesting show for tonight. Let me just go ahead and turn back on the cameras.
I don't know how much people can hear right now because I'm playing a sweet westerny sounding song.
Well, I was just practicing my radio bit.
Your radio bit. That was a terrible radio bit.
But I'm becoming the new Opie.
Are you becoming the new Opie?
Yeah.
Want to take in some callers?
Yeah.
Want to do that? Want to fuck up the stream like you did last week?
That was fun right there.
It sure fucking wasn't.
Well, I thought Mar might have, a better setup.
Well, that wasn't. I really don't think that was the problem. It was the biggest issue for me was like, I'm like, hey guys, I'm setting up the cameras. Let's kind of be quiet for a second. I'm like setting up the cameras. Everybody's like, so what's going on? Why does it take so? He's setting up the cameras. Stop fucking talking so I can set up the cameras. But it is what it
real
is.
Quick, before we read these stories, let me just as a matter of promotion here. So Sage's Tower, I mentioned they're an indie publisher, but they when they publish your books, it goes on Amazon, it goes to Barnes and Noble, it goes to all these places. But anyway,
so it would actually get Barnes and Noble. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But this is their books. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, cool.
They make good looking. These aren't like cheapy.
Yeah, those are legit, like paperback
legit
books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paperback and hardback.
Man would be proud to have a book like that.
That's right.
That book, it's a rare book. People remember a book like that.
People remember a book like that. So there you go. That's my little bit of promotion. So
well, this kind of leads me into my question.
That's a good point. I just want to drive real quick because a lot of people, like you said, they're an indie publisher. People may think this is gonna be some bullshit company. Don't forget, there's a lot of good things that come out from indie companies, films, games. A lot of the best games come out.
Lionsgate was an indie publisher.
Yeah,
indie.
so don't knock it because it's indie, and like he showed you, proof is in the pudding. Like he has good, solid, like shows you. There's just some good books. Like if I was looking at those in a store, I wouldn't think twice to grab them just because of the publisher.
Right.
Most readers I don't think know about publishers. I think the hard dick, who are the book snobs out there that are like, this isn't published by Penguin, not for me. Like who?
Yeah, I was about to make that joke. I don't know. This doesn't have the same page dexterity as Penguin House.
There's got to be book snobs out there. I want to become one.
Sure.
I want to become one now.
Become one?
Because I don't know any, so I gotta make the change I want to see in the world. All right, so good plug. I think, yeah.
This kind of leads me into my question that I want to ask before we start going into the stories. How did the Sage House find you? Did you send your manuscript to them?
Yeah.
Well, I want to say real quick, Matt, if you can watch the recent stream of the Rough Craft, is actually streaming right now, and you go back, you'll be able to get that answer.
See, I had one.
No, I don't know if he got into super specifics on it, but he did talk about how he kind of got to where he is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go in there and give further detail. I just wanted to bust Matt's chops.
No,
as
but
you will.
You know what though, Matt? Let me actually give you a little bit of an answer to that, even though I've already went on around. Here's one thing about Twitter. Like I'm old, so Facebook was kind of the only real social media I was using up until recently.
I still don't really use Twitter ever at all. I think I have an account.
So as I was working on my book, one of the things I would do in my time that I wasn't writing was I would watch YouTube videos about people that had put out books or were putting out books, and a lot of them said, to get your audience built up, you have to use social media, you have to do this and that. And so I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go to Twitter. I'm gonna, and on Twitter, there's a lot of stuff in there that's not going to give you a lot of help, but there are a lot of people that are actually very helpful on Twitter. And the way that I actually encountered Sage's Tower was through a pitch event. And I know pitch events are kind of a bugaboo thing when it comes to writers. Some people love them. Some people absolutely have no use for them, because it's essentially a day where they say anybody who's got a book, pitch it. And supposedly agents will go through and look at these pitches, and sometimes they will like them. And that means that if the agent likes your pitch, then you're supposed to submit to that particular agent. And I am not somebody who was gifted or lucky enough in my first pitch event to actually get anybody to like my pitches. However, one thing that pitch events do is it reveals to you a lot of other people that are getting likes, and you can go in there and find places that are actually accepting submissions. Because that's one of the hardest things about querying is you don't often know who exactly is and isn't accepting queries. If that makes sense. Like a lot of agents will just kind of change on the fly. Like they might be accepting them one week and the next week they're
they'll
not.
be like, I'm out of office, so
sorry, yeah, or they hit a certain number and they're like, no, I'm cutting myself off. And so what I did was I went back through like a week later after one of the pitch events that had happened, and I started looking for people that had gotten a number of likes and finding either publishers or agents who were accepting queries, because that I at least knew then that they were looking for queries. And that's exactly how I encountered Sage's Tower. And the trick with Sage's is that when I went to their website, I knew they were indie, but their founder was a guy that used to be in the military. He had gotten out and had wanted to publish some stuff that he had worked on that was basically like role playing related, and just found that like the publishing world was just a big maze. And so he started a company, and he had all this, he had background in D&D and things like that. And that's actually why it's called Sage's Tower. And I was like, this is me, like I'm a guy that had been doing all this stuff, and I'm looking for that same thing. So yeah, that's actually cool. One of the reasons I pitched them was because of that. So
yeah, because of your background, you were able to find some commonality with him, which
yeah.
sounds like it ended up being a perfect fit. I will say, and this may be a stretch, but if he was in the military, we did our last stream. You may have saw it where we talk with people in the military. If he would be interested, we do plan on doing a part 2.
I don't think he has contact with the founder of Sage Tower.
I don't fucking know. I think Neal has more contact with him than we do right now, Matt. And so I'm just saying,
true,
if it's possible, if you're watching Sage's Tower, Mr. Sage, we plan on doing another military. We plan on doing another military-based episode where we can bring people on and stuff like that. So it would be cool because obviously I assume he's a bit older than us, and most of the people we have in are younger, either still serving or served during in the years after 9/11 and stuff like that. So
that was a really cool episode last week, by the way. I will mention that to guys. I enjoyed that one. So.
Maybe that's something we should do more, is try to, instead of focus on news stories, focus on stories of real people and stuff. I don't know. Whatever people seem to like.
That's kind of one of these, like, all right, before we get into the stories, let's get into the weeds. The Rough Craft have so many fucking episode genres.
Mm-hmm.
We have Take Your Shot, which is what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Rough Craft, which is when me and Tom make up a story on the fly for 2 hours. We have the Writer's Craft, where we talk to other writers about their stories.
Which is I think Take Your Shot is kind of merged into that. Take Your Shot is just more versatile, because this is basically
Take Your Shot is
craft.
You make up a story on the fly. It's not the same.
Yeah, but I mean, we do the interview throughout.
Yeah, we're doing the interview now, but
that's why I said it's kind of like a mix of it. But go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
And then we have Beers and Buds, which is what we've been doing with Devin and other friends of the show.
And we even have segments we haven't necessarily done. We have one called the Book Report, where I'm going to eventually finish reading a book, and we're going to do like we're going to do a review of it. And we've kind of done Book Report before with the Godzilla stuff, and I think Book Report movies, TV shows, anything will fall into Book Report.
Yeah, and then
cool.
and now we're gonna have sob stories. I don't know, whatever the fuck we're gonna call it.
We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it within Beers and Buds. That'd be best.
Stories. So,
but yeah,
we got a lot to work on for season 3.
We talked about it, and it'd be great if we had the time to be able to do a show like 4 times a week, and then we could hit all these different like forms of our show that we do. That would be lovely. Obviously, that's not necessarily in the cards with schedules and stuff. We're lucky we can keep a consistent Saturday. The time doesn't say consistent, but we've been able to maintain Saturdays for like a good month or so, and I'm pretty happy about that. I think one weekend, me and Matt was both like, I don't really feel like it this weekend. We don't have really anything to do. And I had something else going on. I was like, yeah, we'll just skip it. And he's like, I had a few people in the Discord asking where the episode was. And I was like, that makes me feel good. Now I feel like I need to make sure we're doing it. If there's one person that wants to know where we're at, then I'm more than happy to do it. I do want to actually, you're talking about segments. I have a news segment, a small segment that came up when Neal was talking earlier.
What do you think of my hair? And he's just gonna.
I don't have a graphic for it, but eventually I'll make a graphic, which means within months there will be a graphic for it. But it's a small segment. It's going to be called Define That Term. And the term we're going to be defining today that Neal is going to define for us is bugaboo. Neal, could you please define that term?
Bugaboo.
And what define that term is for anybody that's just watching and has never seen this segment before. Define that term is whenever we hear a term that is seems very unheard of, niche, kind of just, maybe culturally, maybe, depending on where you live. It's a term that most people may not know. So today's define that term is going to be bugaboo, a term Neal used earlier.
Knows what bugaboo means.
See, I'm not a native South Carolinian. That's part of the problem. I know bugaboo because I've used it before. I have no idea what it means.
I was able to figure out what it meant by context clues, but I'm like, I don't know what bugaboo is. I don't know what he's meaning when he says that. I had context clues, but that's about it. And I think that could be a fun little bit to do whenever somebody says something that could sound a little bit out of place, could sound obviously.
We have like a Pee Wee Herman alarm. He said the word of the day. He said the word of the day. Let's get what's that word mean?
Define that term.
Yeah, define that term. No, yeah, I couldn't tell you what specifically a bugaboo is, other than that it's
well, as
happening.
As a consolation prize, can you tell us what a bugbear is?
Bugbear? What, a bugbear? I can tell you a bugbear.
Bugbear, there you go, bugbear.
There you go. Yeah, a bugbear's like a big goblin in D&D. So there you go. It's a bugbear.
and that was our segment of Define That Term. Matt, back to you.
Big tongue wobbling, flying through the air like a big dumb goblin.
All right, so I think we're
one quick question before
we finish the quick questions.
Bring it on up.
Are you a Gamecock fan or are you a Clemson fan?
So
you can only be two in the state of South Carolina.
You can only be one or the other in South Carolina. My daughter goes to Clemson.
I call bullshit on that. I'm both, depending on whatever's going to make Matt or Devin more angry.
Oh, there you go. No, my daughter goes to Clemson, so I'm like contractually obligated to have to cheer for Clemson. I live in Columbia though, so like right now, Gamecock baseball, they're doing okay. I'm probably gonna cheer for them if they go to like the College World Series or something like that. But officially speaking, I have to root for Clemson at least currently for at least 2 more years. After that,
hell yeah, go Tigers! I'm a big Auburn fan. What are we gonna go to? So we're gonna go ahead and do the stories now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, also, by the way, I grew up in Idaho, so I'm actually a Boise State fan, which annoys everybody.
Get the fuck out of here. All right. Exactly. No, don't worry. I already switched it. He's off the stream. Nobody can see him anymore. We're good. Oh, boy. Oh, we about lost some viewers there.
Hey, get this cancer off our YouTube channel.
Okay, he's back. We got to finish the show somehow.
Okay.
Hey, just so you know, my reaction was that of just for I don't fucking care.
Don't you like the Chargers, Tommy?
Me? I mean, when I was a little kid, I liked the Denver Broncos logo. That was about my extent. You said Chargers. I thought Broncos because I never cared about the Chargers. So.
Well, yeah,
Yeah. I liked Denver Bronco when I was a kid. I've tried getting into sports. Sports are super appealing. The idea of it, the tribalism stuff. It sounds super engaging. I think I just missed it, and now as like a 31-year-old man, it's such a difficult thing to try to get into. I always thought as a kid I was gonna quit watching cartoons and start watching news and sports. Never fucking happened. So I couldn't give 2 shits about sports. Hockey. I like hockey. I've tried watching that. I don't give a damn. That's where I am.
I don't give a damn. All right.
Okay, we ready to read these stories?
All right. Yeah. So.
How about we go in reverse order?
Okay, we can do that.
I'll read it last. There you go.
Got a big change up. I will go over the prompt real quick before we get into the stories. If I still have it up, do I still have it up? I don't.
You need me to read it? I've got it.
I'll actually, yeah, I have it pulled up as well. But we'll again, we're changing things up. So Neal, you go ahead and read the prompt for us.
Okay. Well, this was our random prompt. I don't know where you get these random prompts, by the way. So your
I'll send you
story. your story is going to include a man in his late 30s who can be quite decisive, a man in his early 20s who can be quite generous. The story begins in a museum. A mysterious death occurs. It's a story about secrecy. Your character has some questions to answer. I can tell you right off, I hit none. No, I'm just kidding. I just wrote my own story. Had nothing to do with any of that stuff.
My cat knocked over a box, and I was really mad, so I picked her up and petted her.
Exactly. No, okay. But anyway, that was our random prompt. So.
Yeah, I'll send you a link if you're interested. Hell, I'll just. Shit,
Post
I don't have it pulled up. I'll send it to you if you ask me.
All good.
Yeah, so we're gonna go from last to first, and I do want to say, this is the first time. I mean, there's been times where I haven't completed the story, but it's because I missed like one or two things. This is the first time I will say that I did not finish the story, and I want to say, and I'm not reading first, but I just want to make this announcement. The reason I didn't finish it is because I'm so jealous of listening to Logan or Sean or these other guys telling their stories, and I'm like, man, I need to put more into the story. So I tried to do that while still doing what I normally would do, and there's not enough time in 5 minutes to write a fucking story unless you're just really hitting the points. It's fucking tough. So, Matt, whenever you're ready.
You're going first. We're doing it in reverse order.
Did I go last?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
Oh, that's right. So I will go first. So everybody, welcome to my adventure in the museum. We have to make titles. That's a new thing I just made up. No, we don't. So
Titles now.
there's got to be a lot of typos. It's really rushed, and I decided to quit putting quotes in because quotes fucking make things longer.
Are you going to be reading it out?
Oh my god, man! I will quit this fucking show right now. So here we go. Ben walked through the local museum. Nothing nice as always. A few relics of his small town's past, but it was as lame as far as he thought. Why can't our town have something special? All there really was old pickaxes from when it was a coal mining town before the veins went dry. At least it got big enough to continue after that, he thought. Excuse me, sir, a young man said as he moved past Ben. Then Ben had an idea. Hey, young man, let me ask you a question. Do you like this museum? Well, it's nice learning about the town, the younger man said. What's your name? Bruce. Well, Bruce, how about you help me make something special for this museum? Ben figured if this place was so bad, he could make it better. 2 nights later, they were at the town cemetery. Ben, should we really dig here? Bruce asked. There has to be something good in these graves, and that's history. That is what our museum needs. Bruce continued on with his spade. Suddenly, a light shines down the gravestones. What are you doing? A voice in the distance shouted. Ben lifted up in that direction. And that is the end of my story.
Are you sure you only took 5 minutes to write that?
Yes. I was actually I took slightly over 5 minutes because I was trying to spell direction correctly, and I kept backspacing to rewrite it, and I still failed.
That was just a lot of words. I'm very impressed. Consider me give you a round of applause on that one.
Yeah, I'm not much of a seat of the pants kind of writer like Matt is, but with this, there's no other fucking way to really go about it. You just don't have the time for it. We should do one of these where we do like a very long extended, like say we do like a 24-hour stream that we'll never do. We give people like
No. I have an idea about this. If we get 1,000
we give somebody
subs,
2 hours to write a short story.
the 1,000 sub special will be a 24-hour stream.
Like I said, we're never gonna have to do this.
Yeah, we're never gonna have to do it.
All right, so that comes to my main man Matt.
A main man, Lockbird, Matt. All right.
Oh, by the way, Neil, loser has to take a shot. So hopefully you got another 5 energy ready.
No more. Trust me, there's no more of those.
Well, hold on. Does that automatically make him lose?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't because he can always leave and go to the store. But I think he's in. I think he's in good company. I think he's safe because I missed like 3 points of the story, so I never even got to the murder.
The murder. There's a bunch of crows at this grave.
Quit trying to stretch this out, Matt. Read your goddamn story.
Emily said you will not be streaming 24 hours.
Why do women go out of their way to be wrong?
No, she's probably right.
No, she's absolutely right.
Absolutely right.
We'll do it this Saturday. I can't, man. I got so much shit I got to do before this baby comes.
That baby is gonna be coming soon.
Yes, very soon. Less than a week, I think now. Maybe not that much. But go ahead. Read your story. Go ahead. What? Quit stretching the goddamn time. You don't even have anything to write. Just fucking read it.
All right. Okay, hold on.
He almost seems nervous at this point. Like Matt's never had an issue reading his story.
Dale strode through the security barrier of the museum with ease. The security guard nor the censor picked up his tools. Today was going to be a cakewalk. He walked past the young man handing out large print Bibles. "Do you need water, desert traveler?" the boy said. "I brought plenty of wine," Dale replied. Right as the young man reached for his codex, alarms sounded. Security guards rushed around them, passing them by in a blue blur. A young woman lay dead in the T-Rex's mouth. I couldn't read my own handwriting for a second.
Okay, well, you hit on some points. I'll give you that one. That's.
I don't know what he's doing, but he's been silent this whole time. So
I'm fucking listening to you try to read your goddamn story.
I think he's done.
yeah, I'm finished.
Okay.
Finished with the Christmas tradition.
Are you done with your story?
Finished. Yes.
Okay. Did you hit all the points?
Yes, I did hit all the points.
Okay. You have to explain later because I don't think you did.
Points.
Also, I wanted to point out, my main character's name was Ben. My secondary character's name was Bruce, so I get extra points for that.
What, BB?
Okay.
No,
BB?
because you told me the character had to be named Bruce because you wanted to make a fucking Bruce Willis joke. And you kept making jokes about Ben Stiller, Night at the Museum.
Well,
so I took extra
I
time.
Totally lost on that.
I took time, thought, and effort. Like, I was like, how am I going to make this kid say my name's Bruce? Like, I had to fucking figure that out.
See, I was thinking Bruce Wayne the whole time.
Okay. Can you hear me? Are we rocking and rolling? I'll give you guys this one.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I'm a sad pale comparison to you guys, but we'll see if I can.
I like hearing that.
Okie dokie. Do you have the package? Asked the wiry man wearing a Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses. Not one for subtlety, are you, Jenkins? Jenkins looked perturbed. Do you have it or not? Of course I do, said Dwayne. Have I ever failed you? They walked into the museum entrance, trying to stay as inconspicuous as possible while passing the guards. Jenkins was giving off a nervous energy, and Dwayne looked over his shoulder. Something was off. A scream cut through the din of the museum patrons. Dwayne had just a moment to turn his head before a body crashed down on Jenkins from above. The sick sound of shattering bone echoed through the lobby. Dwayne jumped back as blood sprayed across his coat. And that was as far as I got. So.
You know, I'm fucking tired of all these goddamn writers that we get on this show, man. Especially when they're like, my story's going to be bad compared to y'all's. Just get the fuck out of here, man. I don't need that. Fucking liar.
Stop with your humble brag. Get the fuck out.
Exactly. He's like, it's gonna pale in comparison. As soon as he hit his first line, I'm like, what a fucking asshole this guy is. Like you guys, and it shows and highlights what I've said before. It's like writing. I don't think is a talent. I think it's a skill. A talent is something that you enjoy, that you practice at, and it's obvious that you've practiced at writing. Like just the way, like your descriptions, like I never once described how any of these people looked or anything like that. And I know this is your first time, so you're maybe trying to make sure the reader knows the ages of the characters and stuff like that. And I assume that's what you were trying to convey there, which makes total sense.
Right.
But I think with this one, I think we've given a lot of leeway with the age of the characters, and we're like, you know, like I said, young man or the younger man, and to me that was enough to say that one guy's older than the other. That's all you got to do. That's the way I see it.
All right. No,
Until
to your point about the punctuation, I wanted to like do quotation marks, and I'm like, I can't do.
You
this.
ain't got
Like,
that kind of. I do that every time. I was like, I gotta hit shift. I gotta hit over. I ain't doing that. But yeah, it's definitely interesting, like to see the more detail and descriptiveness that people get into it and stuff. It's always very fun to see. I can't remember exactly. I remember one that was really fun because it's something to do with a train. Everybody's story was so wildly different. Like my story ended up in a cemetery, which reminded me of another time our story started in a cemetery. So it's a lot of fun. I think what we may need to start doing, because I think we had a lot of time, we stretched it out a lot with conversation, which we weren't trying to stretch, it just kind of naturally happened. But maybe one day we can try one of these where we actually do 2 stories, or maybe just extend the time to 10 minutes and see how that goes.
Gotcha.
I think that could be
It
fun.
could definitely be different, yeah.
Because 10 minutes will give you enough time to write the story and then go through and kind of adjust it. No, fuck that, actually, now that I think about it. Well, no,
I think what we have it now is perfect.
No, I think it's perfect, but I would like to just try it out for fun. I think 10 minutes, what that would do is that would allow all these fancy writers that we have on the show, it'll allow them to finish their immaculate piece and give us enough time to go back and hopefully fluff ours up some.
Why give them more time and give us less time if they're already better than us when they come on?
Because
you could do that. You could do like the writer has 5 minutes, but you guys have 10. Give that one a
Hey, I like that idea because Matt's a writer too.
You done screwed every other writer that's coming on here.
Sorry, guys. If you have any issue with the rules, you got to talk to Neal.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I think it's very obvious. I think Neal, Mine and Your Story, number 1 loses because we didn't hit all the points.
Naturally.
Fair enough. So I think what it comes down to is whose story was worse. And I am very easily... The only time I never concede my loss is when it's to Matt, because I think Matt's is always worse than mine. In this situation, I don't think it was. And I'm always honest. If I think Matt's is worse than mine, I would say it. And this time... Or if I think Matt's is better than mine, I would say it. And this time, Matt's is better than mine. So I definitely lost this round of Take Your Shot.
Okay, so
fair enough.
It's up to me and Neal. I'm gonna reread mine.
No, it's not up to you and Neal. Neal didn't win. He didn't make all the points.
Exactly.
Okay, but I did. Okay,
so that's what you said you did. If you want to go through and make sure you point out all the points.
Let's go through mine and make sure I hit all the points.
I'm just going off the rules that you always go with. I would much rather prefer going through, because letting imagination take place and seeing whose story was really the best with what we had.
I would like the chat to decide who won. But
there you go.
But I mean, I agree, but we still have to have some rules in place. Like, so you've always said in the past, if you don't hit all the points, you lose.
I think it's a detriment if you don't hit all the points.
Okay, so it's kind of like a negative. But, I mean, you could write one sentence, but it'd be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I really like how he described that candle on the crackling wall.
My character Dale, my 30-year-old character Dale, went through the security system of the museum. He was a little relieved. Oh wait, no, I'm describing what happened. Let me just reread it. Dale strolled through the security barrier of the museum with ease. The security guard nor the censor picked up his tools. Today was going to be a cakewalk.
My tools! I have to have my tools.
I have to have my tools!
My tools.
He passed by a young man handing out large print Bibles. Do you need water, desert traveler? The young man said. I brought plenty of wine, Dale replied. Right as the young man reached for the codex, alarm sounded. Security guards rushed around them, passing by in a blur of blue. A naked woman lay dead
Naked?
in the jaws of the T-Rex skeleton.
Yeah, I don't think she was naked before either. I do have a couple questions. What is this?
What this says.
It's a story about secrecy. Where's the secrecy? What is the secrecy that this story is about?
Because when he says, "Do you need water, desert traveler?" and he's like,
They're talking in code.
Yeah, they're talking in code.
Oh, shit, I didn't pick that up.
He's reaching for a codex of what is valuable in the museum. Because Dale is a thief. and his inside man is the young man handing out large print Bibles.
You subverted my expectations by explaining how
There
much
you
better
go.
this story was than I already realized. That's some shit I've learned from Logan. So, your character has some questions to answer. What are those questions? And how was it presented in a way?
Stealing?
Huh?
What is he stealing?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I
Matt.
would accept that he asks questions, which is probably about as adjacent as you're gonna get to that particular.
Yeah. I don't think so. I'll say all of us didn't hit all the points. So I think it's kind of fair game then at that point. So yeah, if any of the viewers want to chime in and say who's they like the most, I'm gonna say I like Neal's most, just because of the description. Well, I don't know, man. I do like yours now a lot too, Matt. Knowing because it got past me, and so that kind of
I think Matt did a really good job. I'll be happy to say Matt won. That's fine with me.
Since your little codex thing and all that got past me, that made me excited when I realized, oh shit, that's right, that makes so much sense. So it made me enjoy it more. So that's I did enjoy it. I might would have to hear yours again, Neal. So we're all agreeing that mine fucking sucked.
Yeah, you're taking the shot tonight.
All right, this is cool, man. This
trying to decide who wins, me or Neal.
You guys
I already said I'm giving it to you, man. I'm giving it to you.
You guys really helped me you're making it a lot easier to take a 2-month hiatus.
There you go. If you're gonna go down on the bottom. Just flame out completely.
Now, Matt, is this the first time you've ever won one?
It is.
I think so. I feel like I've won one before. Just mostly because I hit all the points. Usually, me and Matt hit all the points, but Matt's is so point to point to point that it's just an outline. So Matt usually loses to me because I do the point to point outline, but I do it descriptively. So yeah, that was really good. I like that. There was mystery there, and I think this is a story about mystery and things you don't understand. And obviously, if the story could go on further, somebody like me who's an idiot would pick up later. Oh shit, that's what was happening before, and that sort of thing's exciting when you're reading. When you realize stuff you missed before, and it makes you almost want to read it again. So you were able to do that unintentionally, probably in a 5-minute period. So I'd like to thank you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I got a shot to take. God damn it, I don't want to do this.
Neal, it was fun to compete against you.
It's even more fun to whoop your ass. Tell him, Matt. Tell him.
I won.
That's right.
Published author. That's what I get. We'll let the audience decide by the end of the night. I'm sure they'll comment on the YouTube video. That
we usually get a lot of comments after we in the live streams.
Jackass. So tell me my comment under their comment. They're like, Neal won. I'm like, well, I hit all the points. Neal didn't. So
you're like, well, I have the power to delete this comment, and then you delete it.
That's right.
I won.
I can't see the comments currently, so you go. Yeah, you can do whatever you want to.
I won.
Yeah, it's weird how the comments work because we have a chat going on for the stream, but they don't necessarily relay over into the comment section, which is kind of frustrating.
All good.
But I mean, it is what it is. But
good.
Hey, man, what do we? Let's see. I think we still got some time.
So hey, I know you'd mentioned earlier that like people could take quizzes or something like that. I just real quick wanted to touch on something since this is my opportunity to be here. About kind of where I
guarantee you have plenty
what this book is. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, hopefully I'll have some more plenty more opportunities. But
make it count.
But so the funny story about how this came to be, because like I said, I've tried to write before. I've tried to start books before, and it's usually things like I did like a short story kind of like experiences in my life, which are actually on my blog, by the way. If you go to my little website that's in the link in the description.
When you did those things, it was through the eyes of the Mothman. You can't claim to be the Mothman not be labeled the terrorist. Go up the bridge at Mount Pleasant.
There you go. No, but so I tried to do some stuff. So most of my stuff had been fantasy in the past because, of course, I like I said, I played D&D a lot, and so I tried to write like fantasy books and things like that. It just never worked out. And so the actual reason that this book came about, kind of initially, was that we were sitting around right as COVID almost was about to happen. Like it was like the week before everything in America started shutting down. And I think it was a Friday night because my daughter was up late, and we were talking about like fan fiction stories. And we were like just the fact that there's literally anything, like fan fiction is such a wide open thing, right?
Yeah.
Can I interject real quick?
By all means.
Yeah, fan fiction was exactly how I got into writing, because I read all the Lord of the Rings books in middle school, and I automatically went to, let me write my fan fiction where my own wizards were in here and they had their own hero and they had their own ring and it was a different ring from the one ring.
There you go.
And just to piggyback on what Matt said there, leads me to believe that fan fiction is actually, it's kind of like a gateway drug to writing, because when I started writing, really when I was a writer back when I was like 10 years old, that's majority of what my stuff was fan fiction, and that's when I did most of my actual writing. So I think it's interesting to see that's what opens the door, I feel like.
Yeah, well, and yeah, so we were just talking about the fact that there's literally, like I said, like it's such just a wide open, like no man's land of whatever you want to have happen can happen. And so I believe it was my wife that actually was scrolling through some site, and she encountered like Bigfoot fanfics that are just like X-Reader Bigfoots, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what X-Reader is.
Is it the Bigfoot monster truck or the Bigfoot the cryptid?
No, Bigfoot the cryptid. Bigfoot the cryptid. And it's anything from I went on a picnic date with Bigfoot to stuff that we can't even mention on here without probably getting banned by YouTube. So, I mean, it's just all this crazy stuff. And we were joking about the fact that, we were joking, but we weren't really joking. People sometimes, some of these fanfics are 60,000, 100,000 words long. And these people,
Do you know the longest literature being written right now is a fucking Sonic the Hedgehog fanfic?
There you go.
Well, that's not fair. He just copied and pasted "I want to go fast"
it's
over
like
and over.
Multiple millions of words.
Right.
Dude
no, yeah. So some of these were these monster, these gigantic things, and so we were kind of joking about it, and my daughter kind of was like, "Well, yeah, Dad, you could, you tell enough stories, you could probably write something like this." And I know that sounds like super flippant and like,
yeah,
yeah, sure, I can do it. But it kind of like spurned this idea of like this book about cryptids or involving cryptids, and that's where this came from. Is just kind of that little like throwaway conversation we had, right? Like I said, literally like the week before COVID just started shutting the entire world down. And for me, it was like, as soon as we had talked about it a little bit, I kind of got this character in my head, and I had like a first chapter. I just knew it. I just knew what I was going to have this first chapter. And that was great because I've written a lot of first chapters. I can do that easy. And so I wrote that, but it was like that chapter led to another chapter. And then I started writing the third chapter, and I already knew an ending. Like I already had this idea in mind for like how I was going to end this book. And so it just kind of like this really fast catalyst. So I guess what my point about saying this is that for those of you who want to write, a lot of what it is just taking the time and sitting down and really pushing yourself to do it.
I would say
I have tried to write in the past. Yeah, I've tried to write in the past. I just never had gotten past a certain hurdle, like I'd always gotten to a certain number of words and just that was it. Mm-hmm. And this time I sat down and actually put some effort behind it and tried to stick with it. And that's what led to this book being written. Was simply that kind of just little spark in the middle of a Friday night, kind of out of the blue. So,
well, I'll say, and this is weird advice coming from me, somebody who's never really worked past the first chapter. You can't say that much. Like I basically, you can say I have a first chapter of a book. That's about it, kind of like you said. But I would say the thing that excites me the most when I think about really actually sitting down and writing my stories is, for me, like I like fantasy, and the thing I love about reading fantasy stories is that adventure that goes on. So writing in and of itself is an adventure, and a lot of times, like even if you are a plot to plot writer, you're gonna go on adventures. You're gonna find things out.
Oh yeah,
you didn't realize was gonna happen as you're telling the story, and so that's the most exciting part. The way I'm able to keep myself from writing, which isn't intentional, is I go through all these adventures and stuff in my head, and I never put them down. And a lot of it's when I start writing, it just kind of gets jumbled up, and I can't get it out right. And it just it's not necessarily a writer's block, but it's like a writer's fucking speed bump. And I can't force myself past it. But I think if you're a new writer coming from a guy that doesn't write, and you want to write but you can't get yourself to do it, just think of it as you know, that mountain that you got to climb, you're not climbing that mountain so you can get on the top and say, I climbed the mountain. You're climbing that mountain so you can enjoy the process of going through that mountain and all the interesting things you're going to see while you're going through it. And that's what excites me the most when I think about writing is finding out and getting to know these characters I've made up in my mind, and I've only touched on them a little bit. And I think that'll be super fun for anybody, just something fun to do.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Definitely starting it is rough, but getting past that start, and like you can write say you sit down and write like 20,000 words, not 20,000 but 2,000 words, and you're sitting there like, this is great, and then you just let it sit there for a month, and then nothing happens with it. I mean, you just gotta keep going. If you keep going, I guarantee you're gonna find more enjoyment out of the story you're creating.
Yeah, that goes kind of like back to what I was saying. Like, I have the chapter I can show you. I wrote on it one time, one afternoon for like an hour, and I wrote on it, and I was like, man, I feel good. Like, that was awesome. I wrote this down. Finally got the starting point of this thought written down. And then I didn't touch it for like 3 or 4 years. And then finally I went back and finished that thought, which is basically the first chapter. And then my biggest struggle is I change so much in my head that I can't keep up with it when I'm writing. And so like now that whole thing's basically scrapped in my mind. But like Matt's saying, like, you know, you leave it alone for a little bit and then you come back to it. Like, I've left my stuff alone for years. Like, it's a constant, like literally like the other day while I was working, like I'm still changing things in my head about how I want these stories to go. And that's part of my struggle. But I think at the end of the day, writing a story and wishing you could change things is better than never writing a story. So
yeah.
Amen.
Don't be like me, kids. Just fucking write it. Write it and then retcon it later.
So Neal, we're coming up at the end of the show. Hard to believe. I want to keep going for another 2 hours, but
hey, we can turn the stream off and have another conversation. These people don't need to see that.
I just want to ask. So what is the book that you're getting published about? Go ahead and give us the blurb. Promote it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sell your story.
Why are you here? God damn it!
This is the hardest part for the author, as far as I'm concerned. At least the hardest part.
That's why I waited for the end.
I swear to God, if you bring up Boise State again, we're just fucking ending it.
Remember that.
This is a story about Boise. No, I'm just kidding.
God damn it. Go ahead.
No. So this book, my book, Eyes in the Dark. Now, also, there's something I should have probably mentioned at the very beginning, and I meant to, and we were having such a good time.
Yeah.
Eyes in the Dark is technically a working title.
It sounded like he wasn't having a good time.
I know. Yeah.
Such a good time.
Yeah, it was such a good time. Now, Eyes in the Dark is officially, it's technically a working title, meaning that in theory this book could come out with a different title when it's all said and done. But right now it's called Eyes in the Dark, and it started out as something different. That's the title I ended up with. But
you gotta have something to call it.
Yeah, you gotta have something to call it. But so this story follows a young woman named Chuck, or Charlotte is her official name, but she thinks of herself as Chuck for reasons that are spelled out in the book, and we won't get into that because it's a spoiler. But she is part of an agency, which is essentially, they call themselves the Family. It's kind of like a Men in Black, except that it only deals with cryptids, if that makes sense. So they're kind of this kind of
and real quick, not to bring up again the new segment, define that term, but what do you mean by, are you saying cryptid or decrypted?
Cryptid is
explain that, because that's a new thing for me, the way you guys are using it.
Okay, so a cryptid is essentially an animal whose existence is assumed but cannot be proven technically.
So Bigfoot, Nessie, stuff like that.
Loch Ness Monster, right.
Sasquatch, whatever.
Yeah. Over the years, it's kind of developed differently to some people. I mean, technically, I mentioned I've got my little Mothman plushie back here. Mothman's considered a cryptid, although you're not going to see a lot of evidence of Mothman other than stories and things like that.
It's like cryptozoology.
Cryptozoology, right.
It's almost like modern mythology on creatures in a sense.
Very much.
Like the chupacabra and stuff like that.
Right. So she works. This is her job. She instead of going to college, she joins this agency, and their job, their task is to keep cryptids essentially secret. They're basically, the byline is that they protect cryptids from not only humanity but each other, because some cryptids don't like each other in my world. So
okay, that's interesting.
You know, so that's the premise of the story, and she's actually training some recruits. It takes place in Arizona, and so they encounter a few cryptids during this first book, including Sasquatch. They also encounter a creature called the Mogollon monster, which is kind of an offshoot cousin of Sasquatch and very specific to Arizona. And they encountered, well, there's chupacabras in there, and then there's a couple of other cryptids that we're not going to get into because, again, spoiler alerts kind of thing. So anyway, so that's the story.
I love
that's
it.
the story.
I will say,
you fucking didn't even tell me about the story, and I'll fucking love it.
I will say that like the story that you're trying to do, it doesn't sound like super original in the sense that like nobody's never heard of this sort of idea, but it seems like you're telling it in a new way, and I think that's what's really interesting is whenever you can take
if I
take
could
an
reach
idea.
my bookcase right now, I would grab my Yu-Gi-Oh deck that is full of cryptid monsters.
But that's and that goes into the other thing is it's something that people are super interested with. Like there's an audience out there for this sort of idea, and if you can take that and craft it in a way that's new and fresh, which it seems like that's exactly what you're doing. Like there was some things you hit in there that I'm like, that sounds really cool. I like that, like the idea of them not liking each other. Like their job isn't there just to protect the people, but to protect each other. Almost like they're I can't think of the word, but like rangers for the
no. So exactly, one of the groups within this organization are called wardens, because essentially they're almost like game wardens, but for cryptids.
Yeah, that's the word. Game wardens. There you
go. Right, it's essentially what they do. And so real quick, we talk about this story. One thing I want to do, because I'm sure I'll eventually get to talk about this again, but when I originally set out to write this story, I already thought of kind of a 3-part story, or a 3-set story that was essentially each book, was going to have a main character that was essentially based on one of my daughters. Basically, like, not exactly like, they don't look like them or they don't even really talk like them, but they're kind of attitudes about life, because my daughters are very different. So I've got 3 daughters. They're all very different in their opinions on the world and what they like about, different things and things like that. And so each one was originally going to focus on a different kind of character that was sort of based on my daughters. That has completely gone out the window. That is all out the window now. But that's where that's where I got this female lead, and she's got a lot of kind of opinions and thoughts, and she's very much an amalgamation of my girls, because that's who I used as kind of my inspiration for the cryptids and all that stuff is kind of the backdrop. It's the fun stuff. It's the entertainment value, but the story at its heart is really about this woman who is still kind of finding her way. Like I said, she's basically a college-age person who's been given responsibilities and discovering kind of a lot about herself, a lot about how she feels about the world, along the path of becoming this member of this agency. So anyway,
well, I will say
that's where it's at.
What I really like about it, and I think this is kind of like the crux of making not necessarily a good story, but making a successful story, is you take something simple and you make it original. Like it seems like you're taking something people already know about. There's already an audience, people interested in these ideas, and you're able to craft it in a way that's new and fresh and a new way to look at it that people will be interested in. If you take something like Harry Potter, who's wizards learning at a wizard school,
Right.
On paper, well, that's nothing new, nothing nobody's ever seen. But, J.K. Rowling is able to craft a story that's very original, all her own, and make this new sort of identity there that people are able to engage with, because they already like that idea. And it's like what I basically always say about The Hobbit is, the people complain about the Hobbit movie. Well, the Hobbit movie, at the end of the day, take the book aside, it's a book about dwarves going to a mountain to kill a dragon. I don't care. Right. I don't care what story that is. I want to watch that. I want to see that. I want to read that. Like, that's my shit. That is exactly what I'm into. So even though it didn't get everything exactly right from the books, that's my sort of thing. And it's the same thing with yours. Like, if you're into Sasquatch or Mothman or any of these sort of things, like, this is your shit. You're going to enjoy this regardless, and it's just a new way of exploring that sort of thing. And not only will it tickle your interest of those sort of things. It'll tickle your imagination and looking at it in a different way. And then maybe they'll explore and be like, ooh, what if this happened? What if that happened? They start writing fan fiction, and then they start writing a story, and they come on the rough craft and
There you go.
and play Take Your Shot with us. So it all comes full circle. You see how this works. But no, it sounds super interesting. I'm not as interested in this sort of stuff as Matt is. I do. Have you ever listened? I'll plug a podcast real quick. If I haven't listened to it in a while, I need to listen to it again. Lore. Have you ever heard of Lore the podcast?
Lore the podcast. I have not, but my daughter actually. I know for a fact she's mentioned that one.
Lore is fantastic. I haven't listened to it in a while, and it goes through what he does. Is he goes through a lot of folklore and a lot of mythology, and then even so, like he goes through Jack the Ripper. He goes through the first vampire. I can't remember his name, but he also goes through actual modern like murder stories. It's a very more like I don't know how to like scary-ish kind of like the way he tells it and stuff. Super well done the way it's produced and everything like that. But it's very good. Like it goes one of the episodes is going through the guy that did the first lobotomy. And how that whole story played out and stuff. So it's really cool stuff. But he talks about the elves and the unseen people of different cultures, how different cultures have these elf-like characters. And so it seems like what you're doing, like people that are into that would be into your story as well. And it's super. And I think you would like it because it could help give you probably more inspiration than you need to, because it seems like you're like, I've finished my book, I want to be done with it, and you'll listen to that and you'll be like, oh god, I want to add this, I want to add that, I want to change this. So
I already know the second book. I've started the second book. It's very, very small still, but the second book's gonna just like turn everything up to an 11. You know, I mean, cryptids 10
well, there
times
you go.
more, you know,
I would say fucking binge listen to Lore whenever you can, and you're gonna hear about a lot of these sort of what you guys would consider cryptids that you never even thought of or heard about from all over the world, and literally right in your own backyard and stuff like that. It's cool stuff. But
I actually have a question. Have you listened to any or read any of the SCP stuff?
SCP? I don't guess so. I might be totally
Are you saying SEP or SCP?
SCP.
So Sierra
SCP.
Charlie Papa.
Yeah. It's it started on 4chan.
It's kind of like internet mythology in a sense.
Yeah, it's they made, I think, the internet, and a group of writers came together and made up this fake foundation.
Okay.
That contains abnormalities.
Abnormalities.
Yeah.
I'm glad he corrected it, because I wanted to so bad, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
And they call them SCPs. So like SCP like 2048 or something like that is literally the god Jupiter in the form of a deer. And like if you go and
is this like the one where they've got the smiling man or something like that?
Smiling dog.
They come to like the camp.
No, that's wait, what? Can you repeat that?
There's like a camp where like there's like this lady that runs the camp, and it's got this weird dude that lives there, and people come there and stay at the camp, and they encounter this guy. It sounds very like what you're talking about sounds familiar, but it might be an adjacent version.
There might be an SCP like that. There's one SCP called the Shy Guy. It's one of their most famous creatures. The Shy Guy is like, if you ever see its face, no matter where you are, it will come and kill you.
Nice.
So
yes, I like that kind of stuff.
It will break containment and just run right at you.
As this show goes on, even here at the last minutes, I'm just realizing more and more how you and Matt are actually best friends, and I've just been here to be the bridge that could allow that to happen. I think from what I've heard about SCP and what I've seen on that sort of stuff, it seems like that could be, I'm not saying necessarily check it out and add it to your book, but it could be a good, more modern way of adding, like, because from my understanding of SCP, it's almost like the same, like these cryptics that you guys are talking about. It's like the internet modern version of those sort of things. Like it's you know, a lot of these things are actually happening through the
Slender
internet.
Man. The Slender Man is a great example.
Yeah. Like what SCP stands for is secure, contain, and protect.
Okay.
It's the P, the protect is protect the cryptids or protect the SCPs that they have, while also protecting the civilization out there. So I mean, if you haven't heard of it, look into SCP. They might give you
Cool.
some ideas, some influence of what to do next.
And it definitely seems like with what you're doing is you're taking ideas that are already out there and then crafting them into a new story. And I think that's such a fun fucking thing to be able to read about is whenever you you see something you already know what something is and you get to see it in it, and it almost even though you write it in a new way, and obviously it's fiction, but you're bringing it to life. And you're taking what you as a person think of this creature. Obviously, none of this stuff's real. It's not it's not that Bigfoot footage, but it kind of gives people an opportunity to feel what it's like to be around that character and feel that character, and it just brings more life to it. And I think that's very interesting. And so I think with your second book, third book, whenever you get to the fifth one, whatever you do, I think it sounds like SCP definitely lore SCP. These are things that could just funnel tons of inspiration into it because with what you're doing is you're taking things that are already out there. It's like what's that, Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson took already pre-existing mythology and made it modern, and it's it's very, very different, but it's kind of like what you're doing. You're taking things that are already out there in the ether and you're crafting it into your story and your voice. And I think these sort of things could mesh with what you're doing, or maybe it couldn't. But I think it's definitely good things for you to check out. But I'm interested in it.
Well, I watch Discovery Channel and History Channel, stuff like that, because I like inspiration for mysterious happenings that have happened throughout the world, and then I'm writing the story as to why that happened. You know what I'm saying? Who covered that up and why did they have to cover that up and stuff like that. So
Well, I just posted the link to my favorite SCP in your channel in the Writers Accord. So check it out. There's more videos there. You can check it out, listen to it. Maybe give you some inspiration. Maybe give you an idea how you want your. Well, this is already a published or working title, so it's not like you haven't thought about these things. So I don't know. I'm just trying to offer my.
I always looking for inspiration.
and that's all it is. And then it sounds like from what Matt says and like lore, I haven't thought about lore in years, and just hearing what you guys are talking about, dude, there's even within there's key things that I've learned about lore that has made me super inspired and changed the way, because Tolkien does elves in one way, and then I'm there's literally elves are almost in every culture.
Right.
The little people, the unseen people, these elf characters are in every culture. I remember I was in Poland, and Poland has they have this thing about elves. Have you ever? I can't remember what it was. There was one movie where they were, I think, in Sweden or something like that, and they had these little houses they would go to, and they would give offerings to these elves that obviously aren't there, but they had a similar thing in Poland where they would have these little mini statues all over these big cities that you go and take pictures with and stuff like that. And it's just such a big cultural thing that is going on. And it's what's super interesting about, the unseen people, the little people, whatever you want to call them, is it's the fucking Native Americans here in the United States have their version of them. No matter where you go in the world, there's going to be a version of those types of people. So whether they are real or not, that's obviously something that's going to hit home with everybody. Everybody's interested in that story because obviously they have been. So it's cool to breathe new life into those sort of things. So I think, if you check out Lord, you're gonna be funneled with ideas and inspiration with the world that you're crafting. Same thing with the SCP stuff. I think it could. I don't want to say help you, because I don't think you need help necessarily, but I think it's just gonna bolster.
Always looking for inspiration.
It's gonna bolster what you're already doing. I feel bad. I'm here's what you should do this, you should do that. No, you shouldn't do anything other than what you want to do. But if you're trying to figure out, hey, what's next? When this becomes a TV series and you have to write an episode every week,
There you go. That's what I'm hoping.
There you go. You become the next. What was that show? I think you guys watched it a lot with those two handsome guys. Supernatural. He knew exactly.
Supernatural.
I said two handsome guys.
Two handsome guys. Oh, that's Supernatural.
When you write it, me and Matt will be the actors in the new movie. Matt's the handsome guy with a beautiful mane, and I'll be the guy that's calm and collected because he's not handsome enough to be likable in any other way.
All right. Well, I guess we're just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah.
It is the show.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, man.
It has been a lot. I just want to keep going, but
yeah,
I
everybody.
have a family to feed.
This
I
has
have to go cook some
been
burgers.
This has been the Rough Craft. Thank you guys for coming and checking out. It's been a great episode. We have Neal. Say your last name for me.
Neal Romriell.
Neal Romriell. We had Neal Romriell here. If you want to, if you're interested in any of his TikToks, which are great, any of his social media, go check it out. It's in our link in our description. There's a link in our description to nealromriell.com. Go check that out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, do what all those other people say to do on their videos. Do it here. And thank you guys for coming and checking us out, and we will talk to you again.
Before we end, Neal, are you interested in coming on maybe for like 10 minutes next weekend, next Saturday?
By all means. You tell me when and where, I'll be there.
Awesome. All right. Remember, next weekend we're doing the charity stream for Helping Hands here in South Carolina, Aiken, South Carolina.
Absolutely.
And I got to emphasize, the important part isn't that we're raising money for foster children. That's just a bonus. The important part is we're raising money so Matt and I eat very, very hot peppers. And when I say very, very hot, there's no pepper hotter than the peppers we'll be eating. We'll be eating the Carolina Reaper, dried out in their hottest form. We'll be eating those on stream. I think right now we're looking at 200 a pop.
No.
We're eating those right now at 200 a pop. The numbers may change depending on the donations, but come check it out. It's for a good cause, and it's for also a shitty cause at the same time to make me and Matt suffer for your entertainment. So come check that out next weekend. It'll be Saturday. Yeah, donate some money and watch us fucking suffer for it.
The GoFundMe link will be posted in the comments below the live stream.
Matt will take care of all the promotion for that. At some point, hopefully we'll have some sort of graphic for it, but I can't promise that. But thank you guys for being here. It's been the Rough Craft. We've enjoyed our very special guest, Neal Romriell. It's been me and Matt as well, as always, and we hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you again at a later date.